So today's topic is Indian society. Today we'll begin from Indian society. By the way, today's class might be around 2 hours. Okay, बहुत बेसी आज नहीं आज 2 घंटा पाखापाखि ही पढ़िया because I have my own stuff to do a bit, so take a time like you. Okay. So today we are going to start Indian society. As such, सेमतिया किछि note नहीं. Please try to take running notes. Okay. आज बहुत जिनस अच्छी पढ़िया को.
Sir,
Yes.
sorry for the
Yes.
interruption.
हाँ.
And
Yes.
please share that moment with students.
अरे कौन शेयर करे यार किसी शेयर करे यार किसी ना
No, actually, students. I am Nikhil, sir.
Nicholas
Can you hear
Nicholas
students?
Nicholas
Yes,
sir
sir.
has crashed our class it seems. Okay, हम class आज ही crash सी
ସାରଙ୍କର ଆଜି ଆସିଲା UPSC मेंस रिजल्ट ଏବେ ଆସିଲା.
Sir, congratulations, sir. All the best
Okay,
for
thank you.
interviews.
Thank you guys. Thank you.
Congratulations, sir.
Congratulations, sir.
Thank you
Congratulations.
guys.
Congratulations,
Congratulations, sir.
Thank you guys. Thank you.
Congratulations, sir.
Thank you. I don't know what else to say right now, so I think we should
Sir,
move
आज
to
भी
our
आपण माने celebration mode रे माने class नौचुदी, so that's commendable.
No, actually, no. Its point is कि it's a bit of a routine thing for me. Okay, so almost every year एमतिया हुए. So let's see कौन होचे एथरा. Okay, let's hope for the best. Okay, any doubts so far? किसी class रे किसी doubt अछि?
Sir,
No, na? Yes.
sir, pegging method टा ଟିକେ ଭଲସେ ବୁଝି ହେଲାନି ସେଇଟା.
Pegging method टा बुझी नथला. Okay, let me share. We will in general माने ये सब result and all these things we will discuss in attitude class. Okay, how किसी attitude class अच्छी related. ସେଥିରେ ଆମେ କିଛି discuss କରିବା. I will tell you some of my own experiences. Usually ମୁଁ ଏମିତି ପିଲାଙ୍କୁ motivate କରିବା ପାଇଁ ବି ମାନେ बहुत rarely ये सब जिनिଷ personal जिनिଷ କିଛି share करे, but still I will share a few things with you. And point is कि those things will be more impactful than any kind of हमें जो discuss करथुलु संदीप महासरी kind of videos है ना. So please don't watch those kind of videos. You should माने अंडरस्टैंडिंग बेस रे कॉग्निटिव बेसिस रे हमें सब जिंस बुझिया रादर देन इमोशनल बेसिस रे. ओके, बट स्टिल आई विल शेयर अ फ्यू थिंग्स फॉर नाउ. मो स्क्रीन दिखाउछि तो
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
screen is visual. Okay, we are discussing, someone asked about pegging method. See, this mnemonic or this memory technique is related to माने एठी हम कोन करूछु, एठी हम किछि इमेज को पेग करूछु with some idea or information, whatever information we have to remember, we are pegging it to an image. And this image, the entire mane यार point होची कि हमर visual memory da, this is better than any kind of textual memory or audio memory, auditory memory. Auditory memory ର ମାନେ कोन, usually ଆମେ एतला रट्टा मारुछु है ना, a plus b रो whole square equals to a square plus b square plus 2ab. So how do we remember this? जेतला हम रट्टा मारू ना, बार बार निजो रिपीट करिया द्वारा हमर auditory memory जिनसटा स्टोर हुए. And if you see the research into memory, it is seen that auditory memory is actually the least effective kind of memory. You should actually avoid this kind of memory. Rather, if so, what we are using is visual memory. हमको जहाँ remember करियार अछि, हमें ताको image संगरे link कर दोछु. Image संगरे link कले कौन होगा? This will be more impactful and you will remember it better. Okay. So how are we going to link it? हमें कौन करिवु, order रे गोटे system हमें devise करिवु. ସେଥିରେ जो नंबर आसियो रैंक 1 2 3 लाइक दैट. ओके 10 ସେଥିରେ ଆମେ जा इनफॉरमेशन अछि 1 संगरे गोटे इमेज को लिंक करियो से इनफॉरमेशन संगरे. बर्तन कथा ए इमेज टा को इमेज को लिंक करियाटा को हमको मन रखियो पड़ियो हमको माने एक्स्ट्रा गोटे जिंस मन रखियो पड़ियो सो रादर देन डूइंग दैट व्हाट वी आर डूइंग कि हमें टिके राइमिंग वाला इमेज गुडा नोचु सेपे हम नोचु वन संगरे सन टू संगरे शू इफ यू माने हियर दिस दीज आर राइमिंग वर्ड्स सो ई सिस्टम टा को हमको प्रथम मन रखियो पड़ियो वन सन टू शू थ्री ट्री ओके फोर डोर फाइव हाइव सिक्स स्टिक्स सेवन हेवन एट प्लेट नाइन लाइन एंड 10 इज hen देन हमको जहां पॉइंट मन रखियार अछि हमें ता संगे या लिंक करियो ओके लेट मी टेक एन एग्जांपल सपोज हमें गोटे एसडीजी विषय कथा हेतु सपोज यू टेक अनदर एग्जांपल थिंक ऑफ फंडामेंटल ड्यूटीज हाउ टू रिमेंबर व्हिच नंबर को फंडामेंटल ड्यूटीज ता हमें कोठी लिंक करियो देन सपोज first fundamental duties is something related to that we should remember and we should respect our national anthem national flag okay and the spirit of freedom struggle now how to link this idea with the image of a sun now you imagine कि सपोज तुम स्कूल ग्राउंड रे तुम ठिया है कि स्कूल असेंबली रे नेशनल एंथम चली एंड यू आर सीइंग दैट देयर इज ए इंडिया रो नेशनल फ्लैग अछि एंड एते खरा होची कि पिला माने से नेशनल फ्लैग तळे सेठी छाई पाइया पे छिडा होचन सो इमेजिन जस्ट दिस थिंग नाउ व्हेन यू आर नेक्स्ट आस्क्ड टू रिमेंबर कि व्हाट वाज द फर्स्ट फंडामेंटल ड्यूटी यू विल रिमेंबर कि वन माने सन रू माने पड़ी कि अच्छा फ्लैग तळे हम छिडा आइतिलु जो नेशनल एंथम गीत बाजतला बहुत खरा होतला so from that you will remember okay to respect national flag and anthem spirit of freedom struggle all this thing similarly think of second suppose second fundamental duty is to I think second wala ta thila spirit of freedom struggle okay mora eithru hi mane purch second wala thila ki we should respect the ideals which inspired freedom struggle something like that now imagine freedom struggle ro ideal कहले usually ame kaha ku भाबु ame भाबु महात्मा गांधी को अब हमको टू माने शू संगरे महात्मा गांधी को लिंक करियार अछि हाउ कैन वी रिमेंबर दिस नाउ ट्राई टू माने थिंक ऑफ सम एब्सर्ड थिंग्स थिंक ऑफ सम big thing think of something which will stick to your mind now imagine दांडी यात्रा रे महात्मा गांधी जाउछ एंड तंग साइड रे गोटा लोक आसी कहछि सर एटा मोर रिबॉक शू रो मु सेल्समैन आपण गोटा शू नो नांदी खाली पादर कहीं जाउछन so this is an absurd thing but this will stick to your mind when someone asks दुई नंबर फंडामेंटल ड्यूटी कौन थिला तो मन पड़ियो टू शू शू रू मन पड़ो महात्मा गांधी जो दांडी यात्रा जाउतले कि जोता वाला सेल्समैन आसी तंग जोता बिक्री करतला so like that three tree four door five hive okay so remember whatever you have to remember those facts you should link with this image and to see more examples you can even youtube re dekhi dabo pegging wala video many of these are available freely available on openly available everywhere but point is our students don't know है ना तो आमको प्रथम टी पिला पुश कला परे कि पिला को धीरे धीरे टेक माने टेक अप करंती ओके एनी अदर डाउट्स ठीक है then we will take up today Indian society if you see this is part of your GS1 paper today again please take running notes okay but actually you can also use this for essay as well as ethics that is why Indian society is a very versatile subject okay so today's first chapter is society maybe tinta class re bhi sorry na pare so it's okay we'll take up a few remaining topics later on first chapter of this is features of Indian society correct now all of you have lived in Indian society I'm guessing can you tell me some defining features of Indian society only Indian society je ebhalya feature आउ कोठी नहीं को दुनिया रे can you tell me एमतिया कोन feature अछि Indian society what do you think tell me a few examples
casteism
very good casteism what else
patriarchy
okay patriarchy अछि but अन्य countries रे नहीं कि what is unique patriarchy is also a feature
joint
first we'll
family
see joint family अन्य countries रे भी अछि okay joint family
unity in
what else
diversity
Excellent. Unity in diversity.
Diverse culture.
Diverse culture. Okay, what else? Okay. Let's take up a few aspects of Indian society. Okay. First part, which you usually people will say about casteism. Casteism is, even if it is a unique feature of Indian society, let me tell you, casteism itself is an outcome of another phenomenon, and that phenomenon is called as tendency for hierarchization. या माने कौन? आम लोकंकर टेंडेंसी होची आम लोक सब जिंस को हायरार्की रे कन्वर्ट करदे. They will convert everything including people, things, ideas, okay, all of these into hierarchy. Now यार भी बहुत सारा sociology रे reason अछि, we are not going to delve deeper into that, but why sorry, how do we divide people into hierarchy? Can you tell me how people are divided? So caste ro point होची कि caste divides people into different levels. So just imagine, just like we divide maybe some ideas into levels. We have discussed about national level, international level, state level. So that's okay. But when you are dividing people into levels and you are saying, okay, these people have according rights, entitlements, and opportunities based on these levels. Now that is problematic because ideally everyone should have a level playing field. So do you understand? And again, see, all of these are not based on what someone is doing, not based on their actions. Rather, you are doing this based on their birth. Now, what is the difference between these two things? Is there any discrimination between these two things? You can hierarchize people as per their actions. For example, suppose see when you are going to get into administrative service, right? Administration में भी हमारा hierarchy है. What is the hierarchy? For example, at top there is chief secretary, then there are maybe additional chief secretary, joint secretary, all of these. You come down to the district level, there is DM, then below that there is ADM, below ADM there are many maybe PDD, RDA, sub collectors, then there are tahsildars and BDOs, so on and so forth. So everything is hierarchized. But the point is here the hierarchy is not based on birth. Here the hierarchy is based on your work or your capabilities. Okay. The problem with birth is that what is the difference between these two? The problem between hierarchizing people based on action and based on birth is that on action we have control. Try to understand some concept. I'm not giving you facts. Understand concepts. Remember this thing that ideas or concepts are much more important than information. Okay. Today we are going to discuss the information we discuss very well, but try to understand the concepts. Action is under our control, but birth is not under our control. That is the issue. And this is if you see many a times this birth based caste system is also criticized on the grounds that it suffers from vagaries of luck. माने luck ऊपर dependent ना कि higher caste family रे birth करियला that is cool for them, कहार lower caste family रे हिगला that is bad for them, है ना? So that should not be the case. It should not be based on birth. Although I know that some
Sir,
people will.
vagaries ର meaning
Vagaries माने कौन adversities in that sense. Okay, माने misery सही case. जे luck रा misery टा हमारा bad luck थिला बोली. Okay. So so the issue with caste system is that it is something on which we don't have any control. Now many people will criticize this. They will say कि initially caste system, how did caste system begin? That was based on work. है ना? If you see it, many people will say that the Chaturvarna system that started with what different work people are doing accordingly, you are putting them into this kind of hierarchy. But later on, it turned into birth-based system on which people do not have any control, right? So we are saying even this is fine, but this should not be the case. Now, what is that hierarchy? If in exam any question is asked on caste, you should always be ready with this kind of diagram. Very simple diagram. At the base there are Shudras, then there are Vaishyas, then there are Kshatriyas, then there are Brahmins. And here you write birth-based caste system. Oh, sorry, I forgot one more thing. There is another layer. Do you know which layer is that? Some people forget to add this.
Untouchable.
Excellent, untouchables. They are actually untouchables are considered to be out of the caste system. Even these people are under the caste system. They are supposed to be out of this caste system. And there is this gap. So draw it like this, okay? But point is, in many maybe materials or something, you will find this also. And what you should do is ki, you should also draw another diagram like this. When we are writing a question, see caste base upre kon question asyo, caste upre question asyo. If you see UPSC or previous year questions, similar questions are asked. What a central theme hochi ki, has caste system weakened in India? Second theme hoga ki, with this they will also ask ki, or is it still continuing? They will another question they have asked ki, caste system is both weakening as well as it is still relevant, or they can ask ki, is it relevant for now? ये वाला किसी keyword लगे they will ask. So what you should do is कि first you draw this diagram and add this diagram, that this is the older caste based or social hierarchy, but now it has converted something into economic hierarchy. What is the economic hierarchy, or you can even call it socio-economic hierarchy? What is the hierarchy, can you tell me?
Class based.
Very good. So this is caste based, this is class based. Who said this? Himanshu or someone who said this?
Sir, Chandan.
Chandan. Okay, excellent. So do you tell me Brahmins have taken up which kind of jobs? White collar jobs usually. See, all of these can be criticized. Someone will say ki, sir, no, I know a Brahmin who is actually working in a field, a farmer. So it's not about any individual. We are saying ki in general what we are seeing in the society. Okay. So and again these are, see, a topic that is sensitive. Please don't get offended. Okay. हमको finally exam रे लिखी की mark आनी और अच्छी. Don't feel offended or don't get please triggered कि यार এটা କିଛି ଭୁଲ ହଉଛି କିଛି ଏଟା ହଉଛି. Okay. Again we will not go into detail into reservation. ये सब जिनसे भी पिलाने fighting लगी है. We are just trying to understand the concepts. So Brahmins have usually it has translated into white collar jobs. Kshatriyas have translated into many blue collar jobs. They have taken part of politics. See, they have also become part of politics. And Vaishyas, usually they have taken up business. Shudras, what have they taken up? Farming, other maybe manual work. Okay, manual work. Untouchables, usually many of them, and just to make an impact, you can write ki manual scavenging. Okay. And other menial jobs, not manual, menial. MENIAL. Okay. Maybe it देखाओ नहीं आउटकम को होचे MENIAL. It's very low quality and low undignified jobs. So we are criticizing caste system on this basis, that what initially started as a social hierarchy has now been converted into socio-economic hierarchy. Okay. এইভাবে যদি ডায়াগ্রাম করে দেখে দাও, that will be much more impactful. এটাকে আমি কোন কহে, এটা gimmick भी नुह. This is not even gimmick. This is actual content. Diagrammatized content. କିଛି ବୁଝିଗଲା ନା ବୁଝିଗଲାନି ଏଥିରୁ? So kindly draw these kind of diagrams to make your answer more impactful. Okay. Let's take up the next part. So this is one part, one feature of Indian society. What is the next feature of Indian society? One can be joint family to nuclear family. Okay. Initially, our society saw which kind of society? Joint family रोतला. Nuclear family माने कौन? Singular family माने बहुत ही कम members हुए, which is mostly consists of parents plus children. Okay. Whereas if you see this kind of joint family, you can draw like this. So this might be the core of the family. These are additional members. Okay. So this is a bigger family. Okay. So more of extended families, in many ethnicities. This is also how different ethnicities or different communities differ from in India. Usually, if you see many Marwari communities, they are still living in joint family. है ना? There are many tribal communities who are living in joint families. But many modern families, or at least what we call as modern, what we call as more civilized, again, this is debatable. They are moving towards nuclear family because they feel that we will grow more in this format in which we have less number of family members. Okay, are you able to understand or not? ହେଇପାରେ ମେ ବି ଏମିତି ଗୋଟେ ଛୋଟ କ୍ୱେଶ୍ଚନ ବି ଆସିଯାଇପାରେ କି ଜଏଣ୍ଟ ଫ୍ୟାମିଲିରୁ ନ୍ୟୁକ୍ଲିୟର ଫ୍ୟାମିଲିକୁ ଯୋଉ ଆମ ସୋସାଇଟି ଯାଉଛି ତାର ଆଡଭାଣ୍ଟେଜ କ'ଣ ଡିସଆଡଭାଣ୍ଟେଜ କ'ଣ ଅର୍ ଇନ୍ ଜେନରାଲ ଜଷ୍ଟ ଇଫ୍ ୟୁ नो यू कैन कम अप विथ सम पॉइंट्स कि जॉइंट फैमिली रो एडवांटेजेस कौन एंड न्यूक्लियर फैमिली रो एडवांटेजेस कौन इन अदर वर्ड्स many of these would also be the disadvantages of nuclear family and many of these would also be the advantages of joint family बुझी होछि कि नहीं आमे से सिमिलर पॉइंट गुडा जहां यार एडवांटेज हो यार डिसएडवांटेज हो जहां यार एडवांटेज हो सेटा यार डिसएडवांटेज हो तो कौन कौन हे पारे यू टेल मी जेमती जॉइंट फैमिली रे कौन हो सोशल सपोर्ट बेटर सोशल सपोर्ट अछि कि नहीं है ना बिगर फैमिली सी आमे एथरे बहुत डिटेल ले जीवा नै सम्मान से कि नहीं सर मोर तो मोर एक्सटेंडेड फैमिली तो मते बहुत क्रिटिसाइज करंदी से सब हमको ओवरऑल गोटे आंसर रे पॉइंट बाहर करियर अछि ओके डोंट राइट योर ओन एक्सपीरियंस इन जीएस पेपर्स ठीक है सेमती जॉइंट फैमिली रो आउ कोन एडवांटेज ही परिबो इवन
Sir,
इकोनॉमिक
economic,
सपोर्ट
yes.
वेरी गुड इकोनॉमिक सपोर्ट ओके जो लोन फोन जतले दरकार टाइम रे यू विल अवेल न्यूक्लियर फैमिली रे बहुत कम ही लोक अछन पेरेंट्स जदि असुविधा रे पड़ले हेल्प करियो केही नहीं व्हाट एल्स कुड बी द एडवांटेज ऑफ जॉइंट फैमिली कैन यू टेल मी कल्चरल इंपैक्ट कोन पड़िबो you will get varied point of views है ना yes someone was saying something किए किछ कहउतला कि कल्चरल इंपैक्ट पड़ियो कि जॉइंट फैमिली रे varied point of views मिलिबो and this will have a richer cultural impact this is actually richer this will also be diverse है ना so that is good similarly joint family रो आउ कोन impact रहइबो think of child rearing practices the child rearing practices if you see the children will be brought up by even your grandparents by extended family है ना this will even impact the personality development of children personality को impact करियो कि नहीं if you see the in the joint family the children will be more self sufficient even if there is more support they will be more mentally strong robust
Confidence.
confidence all of these things এই সব জিনিস আমি ক্রিটিসাইজ করছো না কি নিউক্লিয়ার ফ্যামিলি এই সব জিনিস লাগে নাও ক্যান ইউ টেল মি correspondingly what can be the advantages of nuclear family nuclear family रो कौन advantage रहइबो
सर आउ
economic
कि सर
yes yes go on
सर आउ फैमिली है परिबो कि यूनिटी ऑफ स्पिरिचुअलिज्म
unity of
स्पिरिचुअलिज्म
okay you are saying ki religious or cultural rituals yes
हाँ
rituals rites and rituals are better practiced ये सब cultural impact भितर आस परियो
Sir,
हाँ
value education.
सर इमोशनल सपोर्ट
excellent value education correct can come up with n number of points है ना if we brainstorm एइथरे ही पूरा entire गोटे 20 मार्कर गोटे essay भी तैयारी हिजो है कि नहीं so we are but this is only a small part of this chapter so we are not going to spend a lot of time on this let us move to this part nuclear family advantage कौन होगा economic advantage means usually they will have better finances because तार reason कौन they can move quickly माने move कोड करि परिबे for example rural to urban areas nuclear family हेले easily move करि परिबे बर्तन कथा होची यार reason कौन for better opportunity जोठी तांको मिलियो they can move on and this is the financial advantage of nuclear family main financial advantage what is the other advantage nuclear family रो अपन advantage
Better education facilities available.
Very good. Better educational facilities in general कहया हमें living standards usually better हाँ कि नहीं living standards भितर हमें पकेता ये सब जिनिस education health care what else is there quality other quality of life quality of life in general okay.
Sir,
ये सब जिनिस
social
better
mobility.
amenities excellent what is that point you said social mobility see we are going to discuss this term later on कास्ट रो जेतले सॉल्यूशन में हमें सब जिनिस डिस्कस करते हैं सोशल मोबिलिटी कैन यू एक्सप्लेन व्हाट इज द मीनिंग ऑफ सोशल मोबिलिटी
Sir, rural
सोशल
setting
अपवर्ड
रे.
मोबिलिटी
Sir,
सोशल अपवर्ड मोबिलिटी बेटर टर्म यस
rural setting रे, if someone is born in a lower caste, he cannot do the works of a upper caste. But when he goes to urban areas, the link between the
excellent
caste, the village, and his identity is disintegrated. So he can take up any job.
excellent
The
that
capitalism does not
means
discriminate.
very good तुम कोन सोशियोलॉजी अछि ऑप्शनल ना कोन अछि
हाँ sir, sociology.
so that is evident in many of your answers so that's great see people learn a few things from your peers also na तो सांग मान को किछि किछि जिंस पिक अप करो भला जिंस see how they are using their optional knowledge in GS paper and if you are taking up any if you have any humanities optional you can use those concepts in GS papers also but if it is very specific point then you have to explain it don't just write the term you have to explain the term okay but otherwise you can bring in different dimensions are you seeing do you see how I bring psychological perspective I bring in philosophical perspective I bring in sometimes sociological perspective so we are try to bring in different kind of perspective chalo anthropology to mate detail le padhini so I have less idea on it but as many different points you can bring in you should definitely bring okay so हमें कहया कि सोशियो कल्चरल लिमिटेशंस को ओवरकम हमें करि परिबे स्पेसिफिकली कास्टेइज्म एनी राइट्स एंड रिचुअल्स or you can call it rites and rituals कह ठीक हबनी एटा तो भलो सेंस रे जाउची you can call it maybe some kind of superstitions ए सब जिंसो को हमकु ओवरकम करियार हेल्प करे and one point social upward mobility you should definitely write in as a separate point social upward mobility here you can maybe draw a diagram like this ki upper caste lower caste see very simple diagram this is social upward mobility social downward mobility is something like this upper caste to lower caste को जीवा usually does not happen but everyone is trying to for this sorry अरे भूल कर दिया यार कास्ट कया कथा क्लास कास्ट से तुम ऊपर पेरियो upper class okay lower class okay so this kind of mobility social upward mobility correct
Sir,
and you can
independent हेबाको भी सिखेबो.
correct here you can write under modern value orientation what are the modern values that are inculcated under nuclear family you can say that liberal or progressive values nowadays liberal or progressive word itself is being as an insult but in actual answer you have to write it as a positive thing liberal or progressive values what are the liberal and progressive values you can give some example like tolerance and what is the other thing you are saying kon point
Uh, Sir, it will teach children to become financially independent at young age rather than
okay
depending on the
correct
family
correct
members.
financial independence financial independence here you can in under advantages of joint family you can write ki some traditional values traditional cultural values जोटा हमें एपटे modern value को प्रेस करछे एपटे traditional cultural values को भी एपटे प्रेस करिया हमको जोट दरकार हम जुआडे वर्ष सेडे छता हला हमको जो पार्ट रे जहा कहते हम कहता तार ऑपोजिट पार्ट रे पुनी ताको क्रिटिसाइज भी करता ओके
Sir,
टॉलरेंस व्हाट यस
hello, sir.
हां हां को
Take more responsible
Hmm.
other than joint family.
more responsibilities other than joint family which kind of responsibilities
ଧର ଜଏଣ୍ଟ ଫ୍ୟାମିଲିରେ କଣ ସମସ୍ତେ ଡିପେଣ୍ଡେବଲ ରୁହନ୍ତି ବାପା ଦାଦା ସେମାନେ ଅଛନ୍ତି
Mhm.
ସବୁ କିଛି ରେସ୍ପନ୍ସିବଲ
Mhm.
ନେଇଯାଆନ୍ତି ମାନେ ସିଙ୍ଗଲ ଫ୍ୟାମିଲି ହେଇଯାଆନ୍ତି ସେମାନଙ୍କର ଦାୟିତ୍ୱ ଧୀରେ ଧୀରେ ବଢି ଯାଏ ସେମାନେ
ओके ओके हाँ इंडिपेंडेंस एटा हमें कहल ना फाइनेंशियल इंडिपेंडेंस यू कैन आल्सो राइट ओवरऑल सोशल इंडिपेंडेंस और सोशल इंडिपेंडेंस नो ओके लेट्स कॉल इट टेकिंग रिस्पांसिबिलिटीज है ना taking self or others responsibilities correct this can be one point I hope you guys are writing down although I'll send this PDF in the end but please keep on taking running notes okay so you can come up with n number of points no issues हमें brainstorm करके ये 3 point बाहर करो okay you can write other aspects also what can be other forms of other features of Indian society can we say diversity is a main feature of Indian society this diversity itself one feature can be asked in one question ଗୋଟେ 10 marker ରେ ଏଟା ପଚରା ଯାଇ ପାରିବ यूपीएससी ରେ ପଚରା ହେଇଛି ବହୁତ ଥର so diversity को ଟିକେ depth ରେ ଆମେ ଟିକେ ଦେଖିବା so if any question is asked on diversity what will you answer देखो ଆମେ first कहया कि diversity केते type रो अछि don't just write कि diversity रो ଦି तीनटा example first will say कि diversity केते type रो अछि बहुत different type रो अछि social in general social diversity अछि social or cultural diversity religious diversity linguistic diversity ethnicity ethnic diversity what other kind of diversity is there society point of view society of India tell me rights and rituals ethnicity community अच्छा चलो ये तो community as जो social है religious language culture language भितर हमें literature को भी add कर परिया diversity in values can we say it there is also diversity in values different people have different values okay so then you write a few points under each of these what different kind of socio-cultural diversity is there in India socio-cultural diversity कौन अछि yes anyone अच्छा you tell me first diversity रो माने कौन what is the meaning of diversity diversity रो ओडिया कौन को आप
विविधता
विविधता correct कौन तारो exactly माने कौन what will you suppose you are trying to define it what is the meaning of diversity
so different varieties of a particular thing
okay
Sir,
varieties of
degree of
thing yes degree ना ना degree हबन degree तो intensity ही जो same जिनस रे भी different degree ही पर degree केमती आबो degree हबन variety हला
or
yes
तो what
degree
is
of
the
heterogeneity.
हाँ in general माने heterogeneity itself is diversity है ना
certain
heterogeneity
simple
it's yes हाँ हाँ वो
certain simple terms is like considering a basket of apples and a basket of apple oranges and bananas like you can say that that
हम्म
basket is more diverse so
yes so that is sociocultural diversity that heterogeneity in different quality people different objects ideas it depends on in which context we are talking about diversity so in India is one of the most diverse countries in fact we can call it as the most diverse country है ना at least socioculturally ଆମର ସବୁଠୁ diverse ଆମଠୁ ବେଶୀ diverse ଆଉ ବହୁତ ହି କମ ଏମିତି rare countries ଅଛନ୍ତି okay so you think of any even advanced countries some countries like Japan is actually one of the least diverse countries their society is very much homogeneous but India and you see suppose European countries you see their societies initially their society was not heterogeneous or diverse initially they were also homogeneous diversity asala because of migration and this usually happened not as frequently as happened with India रे बहुत frequently migration ହେଇଛି so that means and itself even within India because of huge geographical distance and because of other factors for example climate okay for example ଆମେ ଆମେ जो huge geographical distance ଅଛି ତା ପାଇଁ जो isolation create ହେଇଛି for that in certain places there are many unique cultures So because of many of these reasons, India inherently was also diverse. Inherently diverse thila starting. And later on, there were also many immigrants, many invaders who came into this society. You will read in ancient Indian history, you will read that many of the invaders, foreign invaders who came to India, they also got absorbed into Indian society. And most of them were absorbed into which caste? Do you know which caste? Can
Lower
anyone tell me?
caste. Lower caste.
No. Lower
Sir,
caste kahin
Rajput. Rajput.
Rajput mane lower caste. They are Kshatriyas, na? So you actually take example dela but full answer ta kaya. Invaders become part of, they were absorbed into Kshatriyas clan. Why? Because they were warriors. So warrior class already ଆମ ପାଖରେ ଥିଲା. ଆମେ ତାଙ୍କୁ ଏମାନେ ଯେତେବେଳେ ଆସିଲେ ଆମେ ଏମାନେ କହିଲେ କି ଚାଲ ଆମେ ତୁମକୁ କଙ୍କର କରିବାକୁ ଆସିଛୁ, ଆମେ ତୁମକୁ ତୁମ ଉପରକୁ ଶାସନ କରିବାକୁ ଆସିଛୁ. ଆମେ ତାଙ୍କୁ କହିଲେ ଫାର୍ଷ୍ଟ ତମେ ଆପ୍ଲାଏ କର କୋଉଠି ମିଶିବ. ତ ୱି ସେଡ୍ କି ଦେଖ ତମେ ତ ୱାରିୟର କ୍ଲାସ, ତମେ ଆଗ ଏଇଥିରେ ଜଏନ୍ କରିବ, ତାପରେ ଆମେ କଥା ହବା କଣ ଅଛି, ହେଲା. କିନ୍ତୁ କୋଚିଂ ସେଣ୍ଟର ବାଲା କଣ କରନ୍ତି, ତମେ ଆଗ ଆସି ଜଏନ୍ କରିଯାଅ, ତାପରେ ଆମେ ଦେଖିବା, ତାପରେ ଦେଖିବା ପଢା କ୍ୱାଲିଟି କଣ. ସେଇଭଳିଆ once they become part of Indian society, then they become part of India itself. India ର cultural part ବି ହେଇଗଲା. So that is also contributing to the socio-cultural diversity of India, है कि नहीं. Next you see ethnic diversity. Can you tell me what is the meaning of ethnicity? Ethnic ର ମାନେ କଣ?
सर ये सोशियो कल्चरल रे ଆଉ କିଛି ଏମିତି ସ୍ପେସିଫିକ ଆମେ ଏକ୍ସାମ୍ପଲ ଦେଇପାରିବୁ ତ?
Socio-cultural हाँ you can write, ଆମେ socio-cultural actually କହିବାକୁ ଗଲେ socio-cultural ର ଏଇଗୁଡ଼ା ବି ସବୁ part ନା. We will discuss all
Okay.
of these also, religious, linguistic, just to make a few more points ମୁଁ ଏମିତି ଲେଖିଲି. ଦେଖ ଏକ୍ସାମ ରେ ଆମକୁ ଟିକେ ଇମ୍ପ୍ରେସ କରିବାର ଅଛି, ଆମକୁ ଏକ୍ସଟ୍ରା ପଏଣ୍ଟ କିଛି କିଛି ଲେଖିକି ପ୍ଲସ୍ ଆମେ କଣ କରିବା ଡିଫରେଣ୍ଟ ଡାଇମେନସନ ବି ଦେଖେଇବା. ଆମେ ବହୁତ ଜିନିଷ କିଛି ବୁଝେଇବାନି, ଓନଲି ଶୋ କି ଦେଖ ଆମକୁ ସବୁ ଡାଇମେନସନ ଜଣା ଅଛି, ବିକଜ ଜିଏସ୍ ପେପରରେ ଏତେ ବେଶୀ ଲେଖିବାର ସ୍କୋପ ବି ନାହିଁ. ବହୁତ ପିଲାଙ୍କୁ ବି ମୁଁ ଏଇଟା ବୁଝେଇଛି ନା କି ତୁମେ ବେଶୀ ପଏଣ୍ଟ ଜେନେରେଟ ଟିକେ କରିଦିଅ, ମାନେ ଓଭରଅଲ କିଛି ପଏଣ୍ଟ ଜେନେରେଟ କରିଦିଅ ମେଜର ପଏଣ୍ଟସ, ବଟ୍ ୟୁ ଡୋଣ୍ଟ ହ୍ୟାଭ୍ ଟୁ ଏକ୍ସପ୍ଲେନ୍ ଇଟ୍. So here also we are trying to show that कि ଆମେ ସବୁ ଜାଣିଛୁ. Okay, actually तुमको बुझियाକୁ କହିଲେ ତ ଏଇ ସବୁ ଜିନିଷ, these are all interlinked. Now let's see कि yes, what is the meaning of ethnicity? If you see, even ethnicity under भी race, descent and culture ଆସୁଛି. ତୁମେ କହିବ କି यार cultural diversity ନା ଆମେ ଗୋଟେ ଅଲଗା ପଏଣ୍ଟ କରିଥିଲୁ because ଆମକୁ ପଏଣ୍ଟ ଦରକାର, ହେଲା. So let's not be very literal कि हमको exactly ଏତିକିଟା ହିଁ ମାନେ ସବୁ encompassing ଗୋଟେ single point କରିବାର ଅଛି. ଆମକୁ ଟିକେ multiple point କରିକି ଦେଖିବାର ଅଛି କି ଆମେ multi dimensionality ଆଣିବାର ଅଛି ଆମକୁ answer. Okay, so ethnicity is related to race, descent and culture. For example, think of race. India रे can you tell me which are the major race in India? Races of people. କେତେ type ର race of people do you know? Anyone?
ତ ଚାରି ପ୍ରକାର ଅଛନ୍ତି.
Sir,
In
Mongoloid,
Yes.
Negroid.
very good. ଆମେ କାହା under ରେ ଆସୁଛୁ? Are we Mongoloid?
No sir.
ଆଉ କାହା under ରେ ଆସୁଛୁ? एशियन वाला just check it. In general जो Indian type ର एशियन ଟା कोड़ा ମୋର ठीक से ମନେ ପଡୁନି. ଗୋଟେ ତ ଅଛି Caucasian, these are the white people. Mongoloid, it is Chinese, Japanese, all of these people, you know, even Central Asian people. Then there are Negroid, African people. Okay, Indian people କାହା under ରେ ଆସୁଛନ୍ତି? ମୋର exactly ମନେ ପଡୁନି ସେ term ଟା. Asiatic କେମିତି କିଛି ଅଛି କି race ରେ? Just check it once. Point ହେଉଛି କି ଆମେ ତ society part ରେ ଲେଖିବା answer, we can write different races such as Mongoloid race ଅଛି, ଆମେ କହିପାରିବା Dravidian race ଅଛି, Aryan you can also write, although this term itself is very controversial. Aryan invasion theory, by the way, there is this theory called कि Aryan माने आसिक इंडिया रे settle ହେଇଗଲେ and we are maybe the descendants of most of them, and there is also link to Europe. जर्मनी रे भी हमर जर्मन कल्चर संगे भी इंडियन कल्चर बहुत सारा सिमिलर अछि. but that does not mean कि Aryan invasion theory is correct. So in fact, many people have also disputed this. But you can certainly write Aryan in this sense कि North Indian man को refer କରୁଛି. Many of North Indian people, it is said that they are descendants of Aryans. Dravidian people कहले usually South Indians କହୁଛି. Mongoloid people କୋଉଠି ଅଛନ୍ତି Indiaର society ରେ geographically? Where are they located?
Northeast.
Excellent, Northeast people. So please don't write anything racist kind of things exam रे लिखियोनी, okay? They'll look like this and that Mongoloid people. So but you can see that similarity in features, their physical features. You see the similarity between people of Northeast and people of Tibet and people of China. Okay. So and you see someone like UP Bihar. From that, can you imagine what is the impact of race even today on our physical features? Yes, it is, of course, because this is genetic. Genes nahi ach. So of course the physical features will be different. So this is one example. Because of genetics or because of race. Similarly, because of descent. Descent means कौन? काहाठु को lineage रू आमे आसिचु. I'll tell you a funny story. Do you know Genghis Khan? Genghis Khan किए थे? Do you know?
Yes, sir, Mongolian rule.
He was the Mongolian invader. Actually, Genghis Khan was one person throughout the history from ancient to modern times. He was the person who conquered the most land, and there is no other country, not Britishers, British colonizers, no one else comes anywhere close. And this person with his army, because he was such a powerful person and he had control over so much area, so of course he fathered a lot of children. It is estimated that some huge amount of significant percentage of total world population actually are descendants of Genghis Khan, directly or indirectly. Means some percentage of their gene can be traced back to Genghis Khan, one person. Imagine. So this is the impact. We don't know, maybe even within our gene, you don't know what percentage is there of Genghis Khan's lineage. Right? So this is the meaning of descent. काहाठु को lineage रू आमे आसिचु. Okay. What is the meaning of culture? Okay, culture तो छड़ा जानिचु. Now let's talk about religious diversity. Very simple. Religious diversity. You can just list out lots of religions, some major religions. You can list out some minor religions. Which are the major religions of India? Hinduism, Christianity. Okay, Christianity second as well. Then you have to write about Islam. Islam, Christianity,
Sikhism.
Sikhism, Buddhism,
Jainism.
जैनिज्म तो चलो एते भी नहीं, बट ठीक अच्छे जैनिज्म बुद्धिज्म हम सब लिखि दउछ. माइनर रिलीजन्स रे कोन कोन लिखिया?
Parsi.
पारसी, एक्सीलेंट. हु एल्स?
Judaism,
जुडाइज्म. आई डोंट थिंक जुडाइज्म इन एनीथि पे इंडिया रे बहुत अछन, जो माने अछन से माने यूजुअली बाहर आसी सेटल नै छन. बट पारसी सर माने से माने भी ऑल्दो ईरान नु आछन, but they are more part of India. Maybe Judaism, I don't know how many Jews are there in India. Okay. Who else? Minor religions.
Zoroastrian.
Jor Zoroastrians.
Just one
Okay.
Parsis रे जिबे ना.
Parsis रहता, हाँ, Zoroastrians are Parsis. That's what I'm saying. Same people, okay, Parsis. Zoroastrian. Mm-hmm. Atheist. Atheist a minor religion itself है जीवन ना. They are non-religious under the agnostic atheist. Okay. Is under the
So Lingayats.
So, Lingayats, correct. In Karnataka, they are in majority, but overall it is a small religion. And number of religions. The most diverse religious diversity in the world is seen in India. है ना? बर्तमान कथा होची हमको खाली लिस्ट आउट करियार नहीं, हमको रिलीजियस डाइवर्सिटी विषय रे किछि कांसेप्ट्स भी लिखियार अछि. कोन कांसेप्ट हम लिख परिया रिलीजियस डाइवर्सिटी विषय रे? कैन यू ब्रेनस्टॉर्म रिलीजियस डाइवर्सिटी? We can say that religious diversity comes because of diversity in Diversity in what? Sociocultural values, diversity in religious diversity comes from which other kind of diversity in belief? Yes, this is the most important part. Belief in the sense ki they have different holy texts, they have
Sir,
different rites
migration.
and rituals. Excellent. Because of migrations, they have come from outside. You can give example of Parsis. Now you tell me, what is the consequence of religious diversity? What is the consequence of religious diversity?
Communalism.
Okay, correct. This is a negative part.
Sir,
Communalism.
composite culture in India, unique.
Unity in diversity also.
Sir, Indianization of foreign religion, the Abrahamic religions.
Great, great. Your mind is working very nice today. Okay, and in general it also works very nice, but it's a great point. Indianization of other religions. I'll give you an example. You see the Christian missionaries in Kerala. If you see, they are supposed to preach Christianity, but a lot of local culture has also come into that. So, for example, their food habit, of course, it is going to be impacted by local culture. Can they have cookies every day? No, but they can have coconuts every day. So, coconut becomes a part of their food habit. Similarly, if you see many of the local customs, Acha, did I tell you about this point or not? Earlier, I had told you a story about how local cultures or local religion also is adopted by a bigger religion, or what can you call a regional or even national religion. And I had given you an example that the concept of Shiva actually started from phallic worship of male genitalia. Okay, if you see ଆମେ ଯୋଉ ଲିଙ୍ଗ ପୂଜା କରା ହୁଏ, that actually precedes Hinduism ର starting ରେ ଏଟା ନଥିଲା, but when Hinduism started, they saw that this practice is very popular among people, so they adopted Shiva into this. Okay. If you see the history of religion, you see initially, do you know which gods were popular and they were considered to be more powerful? Ancient history किए पढ़ चुका हूँ मैं.
Sir, like Indra.
Sir, Indra,
Very good.
Agni, Varuna.
Indra, Agni, Varuna. है ना? Later on, they were gradually replaced by what we now know as Trinity.
Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh.
Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara. It is uh, very likely that had the course of history changed a bit, today we would be maybe worshipping more Indra, Agni and Varuna rather than these three. So we don't know exactly why it changed. It might also have been possible कि आज हमें समस्त बुद्धिस्ट ही था, आज हमें समस्त जैन ही था, due to some, again, vagaries of luck or some changes in luck, because our ancestors maybe they thought differently, had some different beliefs, some king or conqueror influenced them, so there our thought also changed, and today we are all worshipping these three, more popular at these three. So my point is, do you see how different cultural practices or even religious practices, they are adopted into another religion? I will tell you another example. You see the practice of Christmas. Earlier, Christmas was not actually part of Christianity. Christianity to start ही नहीं था. They adopted it from another local religion, and that why? Because it was popular at that time. It was popular, and they made it part of Christianity. That became Christian. Sorry, that became Christmas. है ना? So my point is that socio-cultural practices, religion, these are all very flexible, and don't think of these as any rigid categories. So they change with respect to demands of the time, what people want, different historical outcomes, they will change. These are all concepts that you can write. Communalism chalo to in itself, that is a chapter. Okay, we will discuss in detail about communalism. Secularism and communalism we will discuss.
But यार consequences पे आसपारियो ना कि गोटे इंडिया रो गोटे यूनिक concept अछि secularism रो which
कौन
is
कंसेप्ट सेकुलरिज्म रो कौन
माने
इंडियन
एमती
वाला कंसेप्ट
अजय मैंने वेस्टर्न रे माने strict separation अछि but इंडिया रे
ओके
strict
ओके हाँ
separation नहीं तो that
हाँ हाँ यू कैन राइट सेटा सेकुलरिज्म चैप्टर रे टिके बेटर होबो बट ठीक अछि एथरे भी लिखि परियो तो से टिके पॉलिटिकल कंसेप्ट आसी होछि ना जो इक्विडिस्टेंट मॉडल ऑफ secularism. From that model to even you can even write about Gandhian model. Gandhi had actually given a separate model of secularism. Gandhi कह लिया कि equidistant न है कि rather the state or that is the मतलब three organs of the state they should adopt or co-opt all the religions equally and state should also be a part of it. You know? So एमती बहुत सारा different concepts we'll see in secularism chapter. Don't worry. Linguistic diversity. What else? And ethnic chalo values chalo linguistic diversity one last part linguistic diversity here you should write about what is in which way is it majorly divided indian languages are usually divided into the different both sara languages ro categories achi but if you can't remember all of these you can simply divide it into north india and south india which are the major languages in north india
Hindi.
hindi actually you can in general write indo-aryan languages and Dravidian languages. Apart from that, also there are a few other categories also, but these are the two main categories. Now, आमको एते सारा डिटेल लिखियार नहीं कि कौन कौन लिस्ट आउट करियार नहीं. We are going to think of some concepts. Concepts कौन है linguistic diversity रो? First है कि कहीं की आसिला? Why did this linguistic diversity come from? Can you tell me? I may already discussed for such directly or indirectly. Why did this happen? Think about these two languages.
So geographical factors.
Very good. One is geographical factor. Geographical factor in the sense ki because at that time there was little transportation and people usually they were living in isolation. So here one type of culture developed, here another type of culture. But this is not the main part. The main part is related to invasion. So from Indo-Aryan languages, if you see, why is this name given? Indo-Aryan languages. Indo is Indian part. Aryan language, if you see, this pertains to European, means European languages and Indian languages have a lot of in common. You will be surprised to know that Sanskrit and Latin with both similar terms. There is also similarity between Sanskrit and some other European languages which have descended from Latin. All, if you see all the major languages, for example, English, French, German to chhado out olla eta bodhe Slavic ru aschi. But most of these, no, sorry, German we also Latin. All of these share a common ancestry with Sanskrit. So why did this happen? Because we had waves of invaders coming into India, and many of their linguistic features were also accepted within India. So invasion or invader versus indigenous languages. Now, not all languages came from invasion. Some indigenous language also developed in India, and actually Dravidian, if you see, that is completely indigenous. That developed in India itself, and it is called as indigenous. Although, if you see, many of these languages, for example, Malayalam, which language does this heavily draw from? Sanskrit. And even within, if you see the Dravidian languages, many of the languages were oldest is I think Malayalam and Tamil, and the newest is actually Telugu. But we call that Dravidian language from an indigenous language because they developed more or less in isolation from rest of the country. Okay. So these are the main reasons. Other factors are there. Other factor lineage will also affect. Local cultures and customs will affect the formation of language. Now, next part is what are the consequences? Consequences of linguistic diversity. Can you think of some points? एते सारा diverse language हवा द्वारा कौन consequence है?
Diverse literature.
Very good, diverse literature. What else? Can you say diverse ideas? है ना? Socio-cultural heritage or richness असला. What else? Can you tell me a
Sir,
few cons? Yes,
various
yes, go on.
kinds of performing arts.
Excellent, performing arts. In general, चलो performing की कौन? I mean, in general का है arts and culture, art and culture. Okay, arts ना art and culture. So art and culture richness and diversity असला. Here you can give some examples. Different forms of song. Yes, you can also write about architecture. है ना? Architectural differences. That was also
Sir, the
shaped by
literary campaign link of architecture.
architecture. एथरे भी आसपारी. अच्छा, tell me. I was just going to ask you. Can language influence architecture or not? There is one theory which is called as ली हुअर्थ बोली जने theory देथिले. He said कि language sets the limit to our imagination. Means what we can imagine, that is limited by language. And if our language can think of it, then only we will be able to imagine it. So how language will impact architecture is in that sense that what people collectively were able to imagine or were able to talk about, that was built. I'll tell you what this means. Suppose think of ancient southern India. Their society was very much religious. So because of their religiosity, they also composed lots of hymns. They composed lots of, what do you call it, jo couplets, and many of these found place in their temples. On the other hand, you think of medieval India. Medieval India architecture, if you see, for example, Mughal architecture, is there any hymns there? That is not allowed at all. Rather, what you have is calligraphy. Okay, calligraphy is there because of their own limitations of language. They did not think ki this is hymns and couplets should be written there. So you see how even language will affect your architecture. Think of modern India. You see the difference between architecture of modern India and ancient India. Modern India, if you see, many of these architectures, what we call as modernized, these are actually simple architecture. And you see our ancient Indian temples, these are very complex. है कि नहीं? केते हमरो carvings ହେଇଛି देखो. Nowadays, are we making such kind of things? No. Why? Because our language is also simplified, and it has also downgraded. Quality wise also has downgraded. And if you see from at this time, what was the kind of language and literature? The language was very rich. The language was very flowery or ornamental. That is the point. In essay or ethics, you can actually explain this point better. Essay रे या ऊपर गोटा बहुत बढ़िया point ही करे. गोटा पारा रे तुम explain करी पारे. Maybe GS रे एटा explain करिया difficult. Now tell me, what are the cons of linguistic diversity?
Sir,
Is there
administrative
any?
issues.
Okay. Okay, administrative issue टा ଟିକେ पछरे लिखिया हमें. What is the main consequence?
The
Sir,
sense of regionalism.
Journalism.
Regionalism.
communication.
Okay, regionalism.
The
Excellent. Yes,
communication.
this was the regionalism, secessionism. Okay. Now, someone will again say, sir, language. How will language lead to secessionism? Can anyone tell me example? Secessionism ଆମେ discuss करते ना जने 50 लाख क्लास रे कि हम separate state करियो. Sorry, separate country करिया. Yes.
Sir, ଏବେ ତ ହଉଛି ଓଡିଶାରେ.
Excellent. ओडिसा रे कोन example को सेटा? कोशल I think.
कौशल राज्य.
What else? Anyone supporting Koshal Rajya here? ठीक अछि. See, if acha eta by the way, this will not be secessionism. Coastal will come in under regionalism. We discussed this difference. Okay, secessionism is not this, by the way. अरे एमितिया कहले कौशल पिला भी रागी जिवे ना कहे कौन हमको
सर
सेशनिस्ट कह
सेशनिज्म
दउछन
रे कहि परिबे कि बांग्लादेश एंड पाकिस्तान।
excellent Bangladesh and Pakistan why Bangladesh people were Bangla speaking Pakistani people were Urdu speaking and this was also one of the bone of contention between Bangladesh and Pakistani. If you see, when Pakistan became independent, they made Urdu as their national language. Whereas India, what India did, see, one of the reasons for our national unity is also the 8th schedule. I don't know if you realize this or not. Just like one of our unity ro amar gote reason be a simple jo start is constitution that India that is Bharat. We discussed this concept or not? ଆମେ ଏଇଟା ବି discuss କରୁଥିଲୁ what is the difference between India and Bharat are not the same thing actually if you see from socio-cultural perspective so what India did was ଆମେ co-opt କଲୁ ଆମେ ବହୁତ ସାରା ଜିନିଷକୁ ସାଙ୍ଗରେ ରଖିଦେଲୁ ଆମେ 8th schedule ରେ କହିଲୁ ଏଥିରେ ହିନ୍ଦୀ ଅଛି ବେଙ୍ଗଲି ଅଛି ଓଡିଆ ଅଛି ମଲାୟାଲମ ଅଛି ସବୁ ଅଛି but they said Pakistan କହିଲେ କି ନାଇଁ ଆମର one country one language this is actually the problem with forceful uniformity ଯୋଉଠି ଆମେ forceful uniformity କରିବା ଯେମିତି ଆମେ କଥା ହଉଥିଲେ one nation one language ଏସବୁ ଜିନିଷ ଯଦି କରିବ ତାହେଲେ many people will feel left out and they will revolt and that is an excellent example ki how language will lead to secessionism and in fact I will give you another example I told you that around at the time of independence there was also a movement to make South India independent they wanted to make a Dravida Nadu so that was just not based on the region but Dravida itself it also includes the culture and language till now the impact of this is felt in regionalism in South India the impact is felt in anti Hindi imposition movement so this is how these are the cons of language are you able to understand or not pros and cons ବୁଝିହଉଛି regionalism secessionism
तो करंटली जेमिति कर्नाटक रे चलछि तुलुनाडु करिया पई
Tulu Nadu correct that is also an example can give n number of examples regionalism almost in every state language basis रे बहुत अछि language वाला feeling हम ओडिसा रे देखो लोकंकर you see on western Odisha people they will also have some and some people would have that kind of feeling maybe ki you know the other coastal areas they they are different from us coastal people would have this feeling ki nahi amar jo western Odisha pila they are a bit different from us so language basis re amaro diversity is not only does have many pros but also have many cons any doubt so far कार किसी डाउट अछि किछि बुझियोन
सर से जो सेसेशनिज्म वाला एग्जांपल हमें से कौशल माने एग्जांपल दे परियो
ना ना कौशल टा पर सेशनिज्म नुह कौशल इज रीजनलिज्म अरे तुम मारि दो
ओके
यार
ओके
कौशल लोक हूं तुम कहबे सेशनिस्ट दे आर रीजनल हमें एटा डिस्कस करले
सॉरी सॉरी
डिफरेंस बिटवीन
रीजनिज्म
सेशनिज्म एंड रीजनलिज्म इज दैट सेशनिज्म इज होची सेपरेट कंट्री regionalism होची maybe separate state or even separate some kind of regional distinction even if someone is maybe asking for a separate district that can on the basis of some things like language or culture that can also be an example of regionalism but secessionism is something serious 80 ତମେ କଣ sedition ବି charge କରିପାରିବ regionalism ରେ sedition କଣ charge କରିବ आंध्र प्रदेश ଆଉ ତେଲେଙ୍ଗାନା ଯୋଉ separate ହେଲେ that is because of regionalism ଯେପର୍ଯ୍ୟନ୍ତ separate ହେଇନଥିଲେ ସେପର୍ଯ୍ୟନ୍ତ ଆନ୍ଧ୍ରା ଲୋକ ଏମାନଙ୍କୁ ସବଜୁଗେଟ କରି ରଖିଥିଲେ ଏମାନେ କହୁଥିଲେ କି यार ଏମାନେ ସେପାରେଟିଷ୍ଟ ସେମାନେ ଭଲ ନୁହନ୍ତି ସେପାରେଟିଷ୍ଟ ନୁହନ୍ତି ମାନେ they are regionalism ପାଇଁ ହଉଛି ଯେତେବେଳେ ଏମାନେ ସେପାରେଟ ହେଇକି ତେଲେଙ୍ଗାନା ହେଇଗଲା now ତେଲେଙ୍ଗାନା people ତାଙ୍କ ଭିତରେ ଗୋଟେ regional identity create ହେଲା ନା and that identity was officially accepted officially acknowledged
सर ये
but no
द्राविड़
one can
नाडु
say
एग्जांपल टा सेशनिस्ट
yes द्राविड़ नाडु से टाइम रे जो चलीथिला जो movement चलीथिला Periyar was one of the main founders of this movement he was ମାନେ ତାଙ୍କର ideology ରୁ inspire ହେଇଥିଲା that their ideology was that we should have a separate country from India somehow because of the leadership of that time Congress also they tried to suppress this and finally they were able to suppress it and finally yaar one of the outcomes for sustained demand for language based separatism or separate हवा को जो movement चलला. One of the outcomes for this was linguistic based statehood. ତା ଆଗରୁ ଆମର ଯୋଉ ସେଣ୍ଟ୍ରାଲ ଲିଡରशिପ ଦେ ଡିଡ୍ ନଟ୍ ୱାଣ୍ଟ ଟୁ गिव मेक डिफरेंट स्टेट्स बेस्ड ऑन डिफरेंट लैंग्वेज बट ଲୋକମାନେ ଏତେ ପ୍ରୋଟେଷ୍ଟ କଲେ କି फाइनली दे हैड टू गिव इन. फजल अली कमीशन ये सब पढ़ियो तमे ये रे और मे बी सम पीपल माइट हैव read about this है ना. Okay, so any other doubts in this? No. One last I will give you some impactful concepts. ये concept गुड़ा को use कले actually answer टा टिके enrich हो. Okay. Some concepts are there which you can use to get more marks out of society. Again किछि किछि एमती openly भी मिली जो ये सब concept गुड़ा but usually people माने लोक माने एते सब ये concept गुड़ा लिखन देनी answer रे. I want that तुम answer टा टिके unique और stand out हो. So the first concept related to Indian society or features of Indian society is a concept known as Sanskritization. Sanskritization, and this is many people read this in sociology. Sociology, I think this is part of it. Can anyone explain what this means? Sanskritization माने कौन?
Sir, when a lower class person try to emulate the behavior, the rituals of the higher caste. For example,
Very good, excellent.
worshipping.
Worshipping what? In general, worshipping. So they were also
Worshipping,
worshipping.
reading Vedas,
Yes, yes,
and
excellent.
keeping fasts.
Very good.
Meat eating quit करना.
Alcohol, माने not taking alcohol. That's what you're saying.
Yes, sir.
Okay, let me
Vegetarian diet also.
vegetarianism. Correct. Excellent. So let us माने हमें एटा बहुत सहज रे बुझिया संस्कृताइजेशन माने कोन एक्चुअली कोन हला आगर जो हमें देखलियो ये हायरार्की थिला. सो ब्राह्मण माने एठी अछंती, क्षत्रिय एठी अछंती, वैश्य अछंती, शूद्र अछंती, एठी अनटचेबल्स अछंती है ना. हमें ये डायग्राम देखिली. तो ऑफ कोर्स तांको सोशियो कल्चरली भी तांकर सब्जुकेशन होउची. दे वर बीइंग माने तांको अनडिग्निफाइड वे रे ट्रीट करा होउची. ब्राह्मणिकल, यस यू कैन यूज दीस टर्म्स बाय द वे. ब्राह्मणिकल डोमिनेशन. Again, no one please don't get offended. We are trying to just get marks for the exam. Okay. So Brahminical domination. Because of that, and these other lower caste, they felt offended. They felt that they don't have any value in society. So what they thought ki, आमे यदि ब्राह्मण माने जहाँ जहाँ करूछन्ति, आमे same rights, rituals, cultural values को adopt करनवा, ताले आमे भी ब्राह्मण मान को भले आइजो. आमरो social upward mobility ହେଇଯିବ. Some we discuss this or not. Social upward mobility. So in this belief, what they did was that many of them, the lower caste people, specifically, not even Vaishyas, more Shudras and untouchables. Many of them, what they did was they started following the tradition or different practices, sociocultural practices of Brahmins. And these practices started anything from reading Vedas, just like someone said, reading Vedas. Eating habits, dietary habits were changed. Eating habit कौन? If you see how dietary habit has evolved in India, earlier Brahmins were vegetarians, pure vegetarians. Okay. Actually, even before that, by the way, I'll tell you a very funny thing also. Achha, do you think our ancestors were they eating beef or not? What do you think? Beef खाउଥିଲେ कि नहीं?
ସବୁ ଖାଉଥିଲେ.
Do you think ये fact जदि आज लोक किसी जानिबे तो आज जो गोटे religious chauvinism चलीछि, do you think it will affect them? I'll tell you, Vedic society रे Vedic people, Aryans, they were eating beef. Even they were eating beef. They were also eating horse meat. Earlier, people were eating cow, माने गाय को खाइबाटा तो ଗୋଟେ common ଆମର dietary practiceଥିଲା. And many of these records are found in old Sanskrit texts. In fact, if you see, आगରୁ जो मानकू guest मानकू कुआ होतला गोघ्न, means गोहन्य, माने जहाँ का पाई गाय को हत्या करा जाए. In the sense, guest माने घर को आसले तांको beef दिया होतला खायो. But gradually what they realized was that Aryan people realized, yes, and war is also known as Gavisti. ये सब टर्म गुड़ा तुम्हें एंशिएंट इंडियन हिस्ट्री पढ़िथियो, बट यू डोंट नो व्हाट इज द मीनिंग ऑफ दैट, काहे कि ये सब टर्म हितला गविस्तिर माने कोन, वार रो से आउटकम कोन थिला, गोटे विलेज आ गोटे विलेज ऊपर अटैक करूतिला, सेतल तांगर गाई माने जे जितुतिला तार गाई मान को नि आनुतिला, बिकॉज़ दैट वाज द एसेट, काउज वेयर द एसेट्स. द टर्म संग्राम कम्स फ्रॉम समग्राम, बहुत सारा ग्राम माने एकाठी आसले और each other संगे लागिले, दैट इज संग्राम. So war was known as Gavisti, guests were known as Gogna. That means cows were eaten. But gradually what happened was that Aryans realized, or this Vedic society realized kale, कि cows itself is an asset, what a long term asset. है ना, ଯେମିତି ଆମେ କହୁ କି don't kill the golden goose, ଯଦି ତମ ପାଖରେ ଗୋଟେ golden goose ଅଛି ଯିଏ golden ଅଣ୍ଡା ଗୋଟେ ଗୋଟେ ଦଉଛି daily, ତୁମେ ତାକୁ କହିବ କି यार ମାରିକି ମୁଁ ତାକୁ ମାଂସ କରିଦେଇକି ଖାଇଦେବି, you will miss out on this. ମାନେ ये egg ବହୁତ ସାରା ଯୋଉ ମିଳିବ ୟାକୁ long term it is more beneficial to you, that you should keep this alive. So they realized, when they realized is that cow is a long term asset, then they changed their religious values and ସେମାନେ କହିଲେ कि now we should not eat any cow. Why? And ଏଇଟାକୁ ensure କରିବା ପାଇଁ ଧୀରେ ଧୀରେ ଏଇଟା ଚାଲିଲା कि holy cow, cows are holy. And after that for a long time vegetarianism was seen as what? Purity. It's a sign of purity. And non-vegetarianism was seen as a kind of filth. But the point is, to be vegetarian you also need to have some kind of privilege. See, we are connecting many concepts here, socio-cultural concepts here. कथा होछि किए वेजिटेरियन हेई परियो, आम समस्त को गोटे जहाले मिनिमम लेवल रो प्रोटीन दरकार, कार्ब्स दरकार, हां कि नहीं, हमको सफिशिएंटली हेल्दी रहया पे मिनिमम इनते किछ दरकार. बट हु कैन गेट ऑल ऑफ दीज ओनली फ्रॉम वेजिटेबल्स, जे ऑलरेडी सोसाइटी रे एस्टैब्लिश्ड थियो, दैट इज द अपर कास्ट. Where will the lower caste people find these sources of protein and carbs? Or if not carbs, at least protein could paive someone, or other forms of nutrients could paive, because they will not be able to get a lot of access to vegetables, so they have a cheap source of protein. What is the cheap source of protein? Animal protein. So they resorted to non-vegetarianism. So they were eating different types of animals. Now because already there was a hierarchy established, now Brahmins started criticizing these lower castes. They said कि because you are eating these non-veg, that means you are also filthy, just to show their dominance. And this ideal came into the being कि जो माने upper caste हेबे सेमाने जेमती non-vegetarian हेबे, जो माने sorry vegetarian हेबे, जो माने lower caste they are the non-vegetarians. Okay, so all of this is the context. Now what is the development of Sanskritization? Now the opposite part happened. Now the lower caste people thought कि चला आमे नॉन वेज खाऊच बोलते हमको तो क्रिटिसाइज होची ना, आमे चला आमे भी वेज खाइबे. So they started eating habit को change कर देले. Now they also became vegetarian. Similarly they also started having other rites and rituals. What are rites and rituals? You know that जो पोइता पकाने तक कौन कहती, I'm forgetting that term.
Janayu.
Sorry,
Janayu.
Janayu, something like that, na?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Janayu. Okay. This practice, you can write all of these terms under this kind of quotation mark with लिखियो. Okay. So rites and rituals, they adopted this also. They adopted many cultural values. What are the cultural values? For example, changing professions also. Profession change करदेले. ସେମାନେ कहले कि आमे manual काम करिवानी, आमे एबे teacher हबा, businessman ए सब जिंस हबा, which is also fine. Values are like, again the values under आसे बहुत सारा values. For example, Brahmins माने सेटा हमरो तांकर main value थिला pollution and purity principle. Pollution and purity principle. And if you see, this principle is still relevant in our society. This mindset कि some people or some things are pure and other things are impure. Just like कि veg होची pure, non-veg होची impure. Similarly, you think even how they try to distinguish between people, you see, menstruating women, that was considered to be impure. Even till now, you must have seen this practice कि जो माने menstruating women थे, they are not allowed for worship. By the way, if you are following such kind of practice, it is my request, মানে ସବୁ rites and rituals को blindly believe करें. Just try to think, why should this be the case कि menstruating women should not be allowed to worship? Okay, you will say कि चलो some kind of physical hygiene ପାଇଁ. ବର୍ତ୍ତମାନ କଥା ହଉଛି, if you are taking all kind of precaution to ensure your physical hygiene, then why should you not be able to worship it? The main reason comes from this kind of mindset, pollution purity. कि this is impure, this is pure, है ना? Similarly, what else is there? Pollution purity, untouchability. You see, untouchability itself is an outcome of entire idea, is outcome of pollution purity. Ki some people are untouchable by birth itself, not because they are physically dirty or something. By birth, they are continuously untouchable. There was a time when, suppose this is a temple, untouchable people were not allowed somewhere near the vicinity also. There was a time when if a upper caste person or Brahmin is going on the road and there is an so-called untouchable coming, this person would make sure that his shadow will also not fall into this person's body. So they had to be treated like this. All of these are outcomes of pollution purity principle, this narrow mindset that some people, some concepts, some ideas, some objects are polluted and some other are pure. Okay, and this was also one of the things that unfortunately even the lower caste people adopted in their quest to become upper caste people. So this concept is known as Sanskritization. Any doubts in this? Then the next concept is something known as McDonaldization. Now tell me, नाम रू कौन लागू चाहिए concept टा कोठू आस्थियो?
US
US रू आस्थियो, okay. मैंने McDonald रू आस, sorry. सुना वाला कौन कहली?
just like modernization concept.
हाँ हाँ, actually McDonald रू ही आस. McD आमे जहाँ कहूँ ना, सही concept रू ही आस. McDonaldization एटा को रिट्जर वाली जने sociologist या को ना देखले, concept टा देखले. What is the meaning of McDonaldization? I'm coaching McDonaldization of Indian society. These are concepts that you can write to improve your answer. McDonaldization माने हला McDonald केवे जाई छुक नहीं by the way. You must have visited ना, केवे जाई खाई थियो किछ.
Yes, sir.
What did you see? Did you notice anything specific about McDonald?
ତାଙ୍କର standard recipe ଥାଏ.
Very good, standard recipe. ତମେ जो माने वर्ल्ड रो जो पार्ट को भी जीवो तुमको से टेस्ट सब किसी एका भलिया लागियो. Means there is a uniformity of taste, uniformity of service, uniformity of treatment, everything. Okay, सब जो जाको जो तो similar लागियो, माने बहुत ही slight change ही तो otherwise almost same. So that means what? McDonaldization नो गोटे पार्ट हला कि uniformity, and this uniformity is also results in what? This results in predictability, and predictability also results in control. And finally, because of all these things, the system is also very efficient. Efficiency of the system. You think about it. McDonald's shop को तमे जीवो, order करियार प्राय 15-20 मिनट ଭିତରେ तुमको मिल जीवो कि नहीं? 20 minutes भी बहुत अधिक है, 15 minutes से तुम जहाँ order करियो ready made जिनसे तुम मिल जीवो. That means the system is very efficient. So आमे ऐसो जिनसे काहीं कुछ McDonaldization of Indian society means धीरे धीरे आमर जते आमे भावुच कि आमे modernized होउछु, सेते actually society टा uniform ही होउछु. That means our diversity को lose out करी. We are losing out on our diversity. Just think about it. 20-30 years ago, you think of maybe going to a tribal's house. You think about a tribal घर को, a typical tribal घर को वाले तुम कौन देखी था? We expect we would have seen maybe some local culture, in the sense कि तांको diet practice रे भी local किसी जिनिस खाउतवे, तांको values भी सेमतिया किसी local वाला थिबो. The importance of forest and forest produces would be there. But think of now. Now you will not be able to differentiate between a tribal and non-tribal society. Home. କାହିଁକି ନନ୍ ଟ୍ରାଇବାଲ ହୋମ ରେ ବି ଯାହା ଅଛି ଟ୍ରାଇବାଲ ହୋମ ରେ ବି ସେୟା ଅଛି, ଟିଭି ଅଛି, ଟ୍ରାଇବାଲ ହୋମ ରେ ବି ଟିଭି ଅଛି, ଏସି ଅଛି, ସବୁ ଜିନିଷ ଅଛି. Unless this kind of tribals are still living in some maybe within some a forested area, deep area is or due to poverty they have not been modernized, then you will be able to see these aspects. But ଏବେ ସେଟା ଧୀରେ ଧୀରେ change ହେଉଛି because of McDonaldization, uniformity, ସବୁ ଜାଗାରେ ଯାହା ହେଉଛି ତାଙ୍କର ବି ସେଇଆ ହେଉଛି. Think about even cultural values. I will tell you one thing. Have you noticed this or not? Again, think of tribals. What were their cultural values a few years ago? What were their even religious values? ତାଙ୍କର religion ଆଗରୁ କ'ଣ ଥିଲା? Can you tell me? Was that any established organized religion? Earliest religion ଯୋଉଟା ଥିଲା paganism or animism, that was their religion. But now you see, now this movement is coming ki the tribals are also part of Hinduism. So now they are also adopting Hindu rituals. They are also being part of all types of celebrations, all types of what can you call, festivals. So we are not criticizing or anything. We are just saying ki as we become more and more modern, the society loses out its diversity and it becomes more and more uniform. And this impact is known as McDonaldization. Are you able to understand or not? So what is McDonaldization? McDonaldization is the phenomenon where a society becomes more and more homogeneous, just like a fast food chain, fast food restaurant chain. Okay. You can write like this. Okay. What else is there? এটা ବୁଝିହେଲା ନା ବୁଝିହେଲାନି? এই ସବୁ ଜିନିଷ ଦେଖ କେବଳ society ନୁହଁ, ତମେ ଯଦି ଅନ୍ୟ କୌଣସି in general essay ethics ରେ ବି ଲେଖିବ, you will get more marks. Okay, ଠିକ ଅଛି, ତାହେଲେ ଆମେ next part କୁ ଯିବା. ଆଚ୍ଛା, ଆଉ ଗୋଟେ point ମୁଁ ଭୁଲିଗଲି. Prismatic society. Here also you can write. बहुत simple concept ହେଲା, change होଉଛି. Okay, ଆମର ମାନେ society in transition, Indian society in transition. ଏଥିରେ ଆମେ ଯାହା ଯାହା discuss କଲୁ previous point ଗୁଡ଼ା ସବୁ ଲେଖିପାରିବ. କେମିତି change ହେଉଛି? socio cultural values change ହେଉଛି, religious values change होची, religion itself is changing, people are becoming more and more non-religious in general, from a very religious society to a less religious society. सेमिति अच्छा, patriarchy आमे गोटे gender perspective रे अपन किछि डिस्कस करने ना. Yes, main point I forgot one point. From gender perspective you should definitely write one aspect of Indian society is patriarchy. What is the meaning of patriarchy?
Male dominance.
Very good. Male domination in almost every sphere. And this domination would also prevent access to resources or equal access to resources and opportunities for women. This is the meaning, patriarchy. For example, can you give some examples of patriarchy?
पर्दा
Yes, sorry.
पर्दा system.
Parda system. Okay, correct. Parda system can be said to be one example. Why should you hide women or forcefully hide women? If we divide this into this aspect, political, economic, social, technological, ecological, ecological the basic legal. Can you give example where patriarchy is or how patriarchy is reflected in each of this field? Politically, what can be the impact of patriarchy or reflection of patriarchy?
Women MPs.
Women MPs. Okay, correct. In
So
other words,
Sarpanch
आमे
Pati.
कहे कि very good. आमे कहे कि representation of women in legislatures, है ना? This is very less. We will say कि women ministers number is very less compared to men. एवढा सब compared to men.
Hello sir,
One guy says Sarpanch Pati phenomenon. What is the meaning of this?
So they are only
Yes, sir.
proxy, but the actual power is being held by their husband.
Excellent. I'll tell you one experience of mine. So when car would sound up down, can you mute your audio?
Sir, reservation of a representative of women.
Yes, solution we can say that representation of women in legislature जेहेतु नहीं एबे जो recently जो amendment ହେଇଛି कि 1/3 ଆମେ reserve କରିଦେବୁ women ମାନଙ୍କ ପାଇଁ even in parliament, so that will be the solution to this, one of the solutions है ना. So we were discussing about sarpanch pati phenomenon. One example is that suppose you are maybe posted as a block development officer. One of my own experiences I'm telling you, when I once went to one gram panchayat GP office. So the person who was sitting there was a man. So I asked ki where is the sarpanch, and he is saying ki like बहुत भलरे मते बसेले सब किछि हैला मु कहली सरपंच काडे गले. Then he was saying कि सर मु कर देबी कि आपनकर जहा फाइल अछि दियनु मु साइन कर देबी. I was surprised. Who are you? He said कि I am the sarpanch pati. Sarpanch करा पति मु. This is one of the example. I said in official documentary it cannot, you cannot sign. Sarpanch, whoever is the sarpanch, she will have to sign. And he said कि no, she is busy cooking at home. I said कि you have to bring her here or you have to, will get it signed by her anyhow, but you cannot sign it. The person was a bit offended and left. But you see why this kind of entitlement came. Why did this entitlement come from? Because of patriarchy. This attitude that we will make decision, we will take decision on behalf of women. That means women do not have agency. You can write these phrases. Agency. Agency माने कौन? Will power or तांकर choice. तांकर choice ही नहीं. They cannot make choice for themselves. Free will तांको पाखरे नहीं. एई भला तांको ट्रीट करा होची. So this is an example of sarpanch pati phenomenon in the माने तारो common definition में कौन लिखियो? This is the phenomenon in which the female sarpanch are represented by their husbands instead of themselves. एई भला किछि you can write it. Or they act as proxy for their wives. Okay. So this is one example. Yes, yes, go on.
Our society is the male-dominated society.
Yes, that is why we are saying na, that is the reason. Patriarchy. We are discussing about patriarchy. How patriarchy is reflected in different arenas or areas of life. Political, economic, social, technological, legal, ये सब जिनसे हम discuss करें. Now tell me economic aspect रे. How is this reflected? Here you can, it's not just about politics. By the way, you can also write about bureaucracy. You see how many female officers are there and how many male officers are there. You go to any association, you see what is the representation of male and female in there. So you will understand that always male are dominating. Female are, even if right now we say that they have agency, actually the system is hijacked by men only. तांको तांको भितरे कार्टेल टाइप रो बनेकी समाने तांकर दोस्ती बनेकी कर दियंती. ओके, ये सब जिनसा हमें आउरी जेंडर वुमेन इश्यूज रा आउरी डिटेल पढ़िया बहुत सारा या रिलेटेड कांसेप्ट अछि. फॉर एग्जांपल देयर इज द ग्लास सीलिंग इफेक्ट अछि, ग्लास एलिवेटर इफेक्ट अछि, बहुत जिनसा अछि. वी विल डिस्कस ऑल ऑफ दिस इन वुमेन चैप्टर. नाउ टेल मी economic arena रे how is it reflected?
Sir, care economy, then pink
Very good.
colorization.
Pink colorization. ମୁଁ ଜାଣିନି କଣ ସେଟା ମତେ explain. ସବୁ
ମାନେ
ଜିନିଷ ତାଙ୍କ pink ତାଙ୍କୁ sell କରା ହୁଏ. Everything is, men is blue, women is pink. Is that what you are saying?
no sir.
What else?
ସେମିତି white color, blue color ଟା ସେଟା pink
Oh,
colorization.
okay, okay, okay.
For
Okay,
example,
pink colorization.
yes, yes, colorization.
Okay, okay. मତେ ଲାଗିला colorization.
No, not
Color.
colorization.
Okay. ठीक है, yes. Pink colorization. Pink collar
Sir,
workers.
sir, even glass ceiling ବି ତ ଏଥିରେ ଆସିପାରିବ ନା? ଆସିପାରିବ.
हाँ ଆସିପାରିବ. ଆମେ ସେଟା separately ଏଥିରେ ପଢିବା. ठीक ଅଛି, चलो ଏଥିରେ भी add करदବା. Glass ceiling effect. What is the exact definition of glass ceiling effect? या माने कौन? Can you tell me?
So there is an invisible barrier
Barrier in what? Barrier काम कौन?
to stop someone.
In what? Yes,
Upliftment. Barrier in upliftment.
upliftment in what? That's what I'm asking. In any
career
organization,
advancement,
career, है ना, ये सब जिनसे glass ceiling effect है. Specifically in corporate world, it is seen that
leadership role
still,
play.
yeah, yes, yes. See, women employees are there, male employees are there, है ना? Female employees are there. Male employee, if they are working hard, they will keep on rising, and they can get to the topmost post, top post को जाइए. For example, CEO post. They can go to director post. से सब जिनसे ही पारियो. But female employees माने rise करिए slowly, but they will at certain point at the topmost level to जाइए पारियो. Why? Because of politics, because of patriarchy, because of domination by men. So this invisible barrier is known as glass ceiling. Why is this called invisible? The reason it is called invisible is that they will not be said कि देखो तुमको हमें एथिपाई अटकाउनु कि तुम female or something. What they she will be told कि देखो this person was actually the best candidate, that is why he is getting. But every time it will happen that almost every time the male will get the post. So from this we infer कि it cannot happen that there is no deserving female in the corporate. Rather, what is happening is that some kind of politics, because of male dominated politics, because of cartelization, cartel theory cartel you can think of this as sort of mafia or sort of group, closed group. Because of closed group among men, so they will decide among themselves कि चलो याको हमें promote करिए, याको promote करिए. All of these are men because they have better bonding with themselves. Now they will prevent the female to go to the topmost post. So this is known as glass ceiling effect. You will usually not see glass ceiling effect in other lower level professions. Lower level profession रे women मानको आड़ को discrimination टा other form of discrimination अच्छी. In the sense कि they might be abused, okay, they might be assaulted, ये सब जिनसा अच्छी. But glass ceiling effect specifically is for other kind of profession in which there is scope for this kind of growth. So growth ର scope जोड़ी होची सेठी जोड़ी invisible barrier गोटे आସୁची सेटा को हमें कहूचु glass ceiling effect. Care economy. What is the meaning of care economy? Now we think about it. Care economy under हमें ये point लिखिया. Care economy एमती लिखिदेले से point ର माने कौन बुझी हबो. हमें एथरे लिखिया कि many women, especially housewives, especially daughters, mothers, what the care service they are providing is not monetized or not asset. It is not financially rewarded. So they are losing out on this financial outcomes. So that is the meaning of this point. So one of the solutions to this problem was that, for example, Kamal Hassan, तांकर जो political party टा थिला, he promised salary for housewives. है ना? He said कि हमें housewife, हमें power को आसले housewife मान को salary दो. कहीं घर काम करूचा बोले तांको salary नहीं. Maybe some token amount. You can debate this. You can say कि दोबारा point कौन? बहुत housewife एमती थे जो माने किसी काम करनो थे, तांको सर हमें कहीं taxpayers money दवा. But the point is, once you start giving them even some amount of money, then at least their work will be economically assessed or financially assessed. तांकर एबे जो पूरा हमरो GDP रे contribution nil वाली show करूचे ना. Now it will get started. You will get started assessing कि okay, they are also contributing to economy. Because think about it. Suppose if it is a traditional family. So usually the men are working, women are taking care of the household. Men are only getting salary. Women are getting what? किसी मिलने तांको. Women are getting maybe insults or something. है ना? So but if you start giving them at least some amount of salary, now even these men will start to appreciate them. They will also start to think कि okay चलो यांकर जो काम करछन्ती यार किसी value तो अछि. This salary might be very less, and maybe in future this will start to increase. Okay, but for the time being, this will help us to understand how many women are contributing to the society or to the economy. This is the meaning of this point. Main point you see female LFPR. It our main point लिखियो. Labor force participation rate. I did not check exactly how much it is. I think the average LFPR is somewhere around 70-80%. Okay, 75 or something. And female LFPR, if you see in India, it is somewhere 25 to 27%. You see the difference, average. Male female missing it 75%. Female labor force participation rate is somewhere a quarter. Means 75% of our workforce, female workforce, they are not contributing. That means what? It's not like they are not working, but they are not being considered under workforce because most of them are working as housewife. और घरे जोटा तांकर कामटाକୁ एप्रिशिएट करा जाउन जोटाକୁ इकोनॉमिकली हमें कैप्चर करि परनो तांकर घर कामटा हाउसहोल्ड चोर्स these are not being counted. That is why the level is very less. Are you able to understand or not? Maybe if you start giving salary to them, this level you will, because then you will start to see them as workers. Once you start to count them as workers, it might happen that overnight this figure will jump to somewhere around again 75 to even more, maybe 80 to 90% it might happen. Okay, बुझी होची यार पॉइंट कौन? Now under social, how is patriarchy reflected? Healthcare, education, sanitation तो छड़ा कौन ही लिखियो? Sanitation a vast research you can write.
So domestic violence.
Okay, ताको आमे ଗୋଟେ separate point लिखियो. You said it very cheerfully. Healthcare, education, sanitation. I'm just kidding. What else is there? Social level ଆଉ କେମିତି reflect ହୁଏ? Social under ଆଉ କଣ ଆସୁଛି? Quality of life itself. Yes.
access to parental property.
Parental property ସେଗୁଡା ସବୁ legal under ରେ ଆସିବ. Okay. Social under you see healthcare. If you see statistics ତମେ ଦେଖିବ ତାହେଲେ who is getting better healthcare, men or women, or both are getting same level of healthcare? What do you think? जहाँ
Sir,
हेले भी
healthcare
female access to healthcare by female will always be less because in general also female will have some unique diseases, unique problems which will be due to their own gender. For example, you think of female feticide, think of what else is there? Infant mortality rate. Just like infant mortality rate, there is maternal mortality rate due to pregnancy, miscarriage or not miscarriage, due to any mishaps during pregnancy, mothers will also die. So in general, if you see the level of health of any country in any society, usually female would be slightly less. But in India, it is even the difference between male and female is even more. Huge difference is there. Healthcare access. Acha, healthcare access re how would be issue habo? That is related to agency or the choice, power of choice between men and women. For example, the men, if even if in a family both male and female are earning, still the male will usually take the money from female. Traditional Indian society हुए ना, then this person will give some amount of it back to the female. Suppose the woman wants to get herself checked, the male will say कि आज immediately ଯିବା କଣ ଦରକାର, ଟିକେ wait କର ପରେ ଦେଖିବା, ଟିକେ ଆପେ ଆପେ ଭଲ ହେଇଯିବ. These are all realities of rural India. Maybe many of you might not have realized this. Rural India रे बहुत सारे एमती issues बाहर है. So in general, because they lack the agency, therefore they also have limited access to healthcare. Now think of another aspect. Think of socio-cultural reasons. What is the socio-cultural reasons? देखो कितने सारे different reason हमको impact करूची. भावो taboos. Women मानकर किसी यदि gynec issue ही गला, specifically in rural areas, they will be immediately they will not be able to tell anyone. Immediately they will not seek any healthcare access. For example, think of cervical cancer. Cervical cancer is actually curable by vaccines, but because many people don't take any vaccine, so cervical cancer हो ही जाए. Papilloma, human papilloma virus जो human papilloma virus is I think 80 to 90% responsible for all cervical cancer cases. Now because they are not taking HPV vaccines, they are suffering from it. Cervical cancer starting ଯେତେବେଳେ ହବ ତାଙ୍କୁ ସେତେବେଳେ women ମାନଙ୍କୁ odd ଲାଗିବ, they will not report it, they will not get treated, and most of them will die. So this is how, see, taboos, socio-cultural values, लोग कौन कहिबे, how that is impacting healthcare. Can you think of similar aspects under education? Is there any gender difference in education or not? Yes, there are. You see the normal enrollment rate between boys and girls. which is more? Obviously boys is more, girls is less, because even think of one family in which they have one boy and one girl. If they have very limited income, who do you think will they're likely to invest more in? Usually in rural areas or in means lower socioeconomic families, they will usually invest in the boy, not in the girl. Girl को कहे तो बाहा ହେଇଯିବ तो कौन पाठ पढ़ियो, तो जा चुपचाप तोर काम कर, घर काम कर. So see how sociocultural values are also impacting education outcome in education. Gender difference ଅଛି education ରେ ସେମିତି similar gender difference ଅଛି in digital divide. See the number of boys and girls who have access to or know how to use smartphone. You will see the difference, the level between boys and girls. Boys will be more, girls will be less. You think of STEM courses. ଆମେ ଏଟା discuss କରିଥିଲେ କି ନାହିଁ? Science, technology, engineering and mathematics. ଏଇଥିରେ what is the level of participation of women? Very less. One of the reasons for that is gender stereotyping. ତାଙ୍କୁ କୁହାହବ କି ଆରେ ତୁ ତ ଝିଅ, ତୁ STEM କ'ଣ ପଢିବୁ? What you study is, you study maybe arts, home science ପଢ. କିନ୍ତୁ ପୁଅକୁ ହେଲେ କ'ଣ କହିବେ? ପୁଅ ଆମର engineer ହବ ନହେଲେ doctor ହବ. Even within this, see, even within this, in general, girls will be preferred to pursue jobs like doctor, nurse. They will be promoted or encouraged to take up jobs like teaching. Teacher ହବାକୁ ତାଙ୍କୁ promote କରାହବ. Boys ମାନଙ୍କୁ କୁହାହବ ତମେ ଯାହା ହଉଛ ହୁଅ, ସବୁ ହେଇପାରିବ, but nurse ହୁଅନି, nurse ତ ହବାର ନାହିଁ. କ'ଣ ହବ? ତମେ engineer ହବ, doctor ହବ, ସବୁ କିଛି. See, the scope for them is more than the girls. Are you able to understand or not? Suppose a girl will say कि ମୁଁ truck driver ହେବି, or in general ଗୋଟେ driver ହେବି. What will parents say? Driver कौन हो? Driver तो पुआ माने हुआंती, है ना? Suppose the girl would say कि suppose I want to be an engineer. In general, they will not prefer. You see the level of participation of girls in different, even within engineering courses. You see what is the level of participation of women in branches like CS, computer science, and in mechanical. Mechanical branch रे गोटे single झियो नथिए. Computer science रे भरी भरी थिए, है ना? Have any of you experienced this or not? Yes? No.
Yes, sir.
I don't know how many of you have studied engineering, so maybe not. But there is this difference. You know? Now come to this part, sanitation. Sanitation ने किसी gender difference patriarchy केମିତି manifest करियो? Can you tell me? Anyone?
Sir, sanitary pads is a taboo.
Very good. Sanitary pads is still now a taboo. Actually, if you link this, because of sanitary pads, many adults and girls will drop out from schooling. Specifically in rural areas, in schools, जोठी तमरा toilets नहीं, they will drop out. The simple act of having a toilet, how much important is this for adults and girls? Teenage boy तो चलो उसे बाहर भी सुसु कर दे, but adults and girls, menstruating girls, they have unique issues, and this is actually a real problem. So this is one aspect only. Other aspects, see, even under wash, okay, you can bring many different dimensions. You can say ki, for example, how sanitation is affecting women. Sanitation will directly impact their health or not. For example, UTI, urinary tract infections. One of the main reasons for this is for using dirty toilets, and this is impacting women more than men. चलो urinary tract infection men मानकर भी ही पारे UTI, but it is more prevalent in women. Okay. Quality of life in general, what is the difference in quality of life? Because of patriarchy, the majority of resources will go to men, and men then they will distribute it among women. So first it will go to men, then they will distribute among women. Similarly, think of access to opportunities. Who will it go to directly? First it will go to men of the family usually. You know? Think of the various basic necessities of life. You know? Think of the various necessities, for example, like having maybe having bed, simple point, different furniture. Men will not compromise. Women of the household will be asked to compromise. घरों के गेस्ट आसले बापा तुम आराम से खटर शोबे माँ तले गदा पकई शोबे एंड गेस्ट माने बापा संगे मे भी खट ऊपर शोबे हैव यू सीन दिस और नॉट दीज आर द लिव्ड रियलिटी ऑफ आवर सोसाइटी है कि नहीं यू कैन राइट दीज फैक्ट्स ओके एनी डाउट सो फार किसी डाउट अछि ती
नो सर नो डाउट
सर गोटे जो प्रिज्मेटिक सोसाइटी कहता सेटा माने मु बुझि पारलेनी ताको जस्ट
सोसाइटी सोसाइटी इन ट्रांजिशन प्रिज्मेटिक सोसाइटी माने सोसाइटी इन ट्रांजिशन means Indian society is transitioning from old type of socio-cultural values, old type of religious values to a new type. You can simply write na society in transition, and you can write some example इधर दे दो कि joint family रू nuclear family. आमे इस जिनसे discuss कर चुका कुछ सेट पे मो discuss करें. आमे गोटे extra point बाहर करिया पे just total लिखिया society in transition, joint to nuclear family. What else is there? जेमती you can write कि more religious or traditional रू less religious you can write this. है ना? हमर values भी change होची. ट्रेडिशनल वैल्यू रु आमे मॉडर्न और लिबरल वैल्यू को जाउछ so I think that concludes our first chapter of society features of Indian society okay. So next we are going to move to second chapter आज हमें बेसी एते डिटेल में पढ़िया नहीं I have to take a break because I have to take a few calls also so women next chapter is women or women issues any doubts so far
सर एथे जो हमर जो सिलेबस रो पॉइंट अछि डाइवर्सिटी ओडिसा तो सेथरे किछ
ओडिसा पार्ट
स्पेसिफिक
पढ़े यस यस ओडिसा ओडिसा पार्ट सो सोसाइटी रो इन जनरल लास्ट में भी हमर 2-3 दिन में भी सॉरी बनी ओडिसा पार्ट किछि किछि पॉइंट हमें ऐड करिया तापे गोटे एक्स्ट्रा क्लास हुआ ओडिसा रो अछि ट्राइबल्स अछि अर्बनाइजेशन अछि एथरे अछि इंपैक्ट्स ऑफ जो ग्लोबलाइजेशन अछि ऑन इंडियन ओडिसा सोसाइटी आ कोन अछि बहुत सारा पॉइंट अछि पढ़े आसे सब जिंस डोंट वरी फीचर्स ऑफ इंडियन सोसाइटी रे एथरे ओडिसा रो कोन एक्स्ट्रा फीचर और कोन से सेम फीचर ही लिखियो
सर डाइवर्सिटी थिला माने सिलेबस रो डाइवर्सिटी इन ओडिसा
yes that I will study under Odisha specific part of it गोटे क्लास रे कवर हेची गोटे क्लास रो भी कम आधा क्लास रे कवर हेची एते बेसी नाही ओके women issues तो चलो मु पुनी women issue लिखितली so funny thing when I was teaching in Hyderabad मु एमती अन्य से जेंती हमें लिखो ना security issues social issues so I wrote की women issues so I तापरे मु पचार देली क्लास की माने कोन समान सेट की sir women have lots of issues so that is not the point is the issues faced by women not that women have lots of issues okay women in general if you see in the syllabus it is written that role of women organization in general women मान को ऊपर and women organization ऊपर ठीक अछि so issues faced by women एटा गोटे टॉपिक आसीयो एथरो गोटे क्वेश्चन आसीयो women's organization में भी गोटे क्वेश्चन आस्ता है usually organization ऊपर एते पचारंदिन but just because it is in the syllabus so we have to cover it okay so first we are going to understand some concepts relating to women देखो प्लीज एमिति आसले डोंट स्टार्ट विथ द डेफिनेशन ऑफ वुमेन ओके आई होप यू नो कि हमें बहुत सारा जेनेरिक पॉइंट को हमें किसी डिफाइन करिया दरकार नहीं ओनली इफ इट इज एनी स्पेसिफिक पॉइंट सो सम
सर इट
कांसेप्ट्स
इज
विल कम
इम्पॉसिबल टू डिफाइन फ्रॉम दिस
ये तो पॉलिटिकली यस दैट इज राइट पॉलिटिकली करेक्ट इज हबनी माने बहुत ही सेंसिटिव जिंस आइ गलानी हैव यू सीन द कंट्रोवर्सी इन यूएस और नॉट
yes my
वेस्टर्न
YouTube
सोसाइटी
feed
रे
is completely full of that what is women
so they cannot right now decide who is a woman ठीक अछि let us we are also not going to decide that but चलो starting रे हमें टिके डिस्कस करी okay let us discuss a bit we will discuss what is yes someone was saying something
sir, I
yes
think woman is a central character of a family.
Baapre, you are giving very dangerous opinion. Now it will be even more controversial. You are bringing characters into it. Then someone will say, then what is the definition of man? Man manakar kaun character hava kotha? So then you will again start to list out these characters. Then that will be seen as gender stereotyping. कहे कि हमें एमितिया stereotype केमितिया करछु. Suppose you are saying कि one of the characters of women should be तांकर लज्जा थी or she should be shy. Someone would say कि why should there be shy? Maybe she should also be brave ना. तो ब्रेवरी को आम चूज करिया ना लज्जा को चूज करिया व्हिच शुड बी द ऑर्नामेंट ऑफ वुमेन किए कहबे जे ट्रेडिशनल लोक से कहबे सर ऑर्नामेंट ऑफ वुमेन अछि ना हमर गोटे सेइंग अछि कि लज्जा होची विभूषण नारींकर विभूषण then someone will criticize कि काई नारींकर विभूषण लज्जा हबो आ पुओंकर विभूषण हबो ब्रेवरी साहस हबो एटा why is this difference काई नारी माने भी साहस ही करे so we will not get into that kind of listing or definition. Okay, my simple point is we will take up something which is more or less unanimously agreed, although now ये जिन सभी unanimously अब gender तो बहुत ही difficult issue ही है but आमे एटा नोचु from which perspective do you know, from classical uh, sociological perspective, classical sociology or classical psychology also, okay, this perspective. So एटा तुम्हें answer रे लिखि पारियो, it's not controversial right now. जेंडर हमें डिटेल जेंडर स्टडीज को हमें जाओ हमें इन जनरल वी आर जस्ट डिस्कसिंग व्हाट इज द डिफरेंस बिटवीन सेक्स एंड जेंडर. कैन एनीवन टेल मी व्हाट इज द डिफरेंस बिटवीन सेक्स एंड जेंडर?
Gender is socially attributed, sex is biological.
Very good, excellent. Means sex is something you are born with by birth, but gender is something you become, you turn. Sex is something biological, that means it's related to chromosome XX or XY. Gender is not just biological but social, means biological plus additional stuff. Maybe sometimes it might not even have any biological basis. So now it is being said ki who is a woman? Some people are saying ki woman is whoever who feels like a woman. If you think you are a woman, then you are a woman. Again, it is very controversial. But what is our point of saying ki social? Social in the sense ki you see gender aspects hochi isu jinso. Women manakar aspect mane kahaku ame women kaheba. Self identity. She should be self identify as a woman. That is also one aspect. One, this is not the only thing in which we are deciding. That is just one aspect. Social or cultural values, you know. Then also there is how kon achi attributes, different attributes. Here instead of saying character I am character kahya na different attributes tankar kon achi on the basis of this, and this can be both physical as well as mental. Sorry, it's the physical as well, mental and emotional. Mental in the sense कि इठे emotion कहीं की नहीं आए नहीं, mental माने other aspects of psychology. Okay. If we are taking up these components, then we call, based on these components we are defining gender. So for example, if someone is self-identifying as a girl, that will be one component, and there are socio-cultural values in house कि women, how women should behave, how men should behave, based on that also, that is also one factor. Okay. So based on that, in any way our class is going to end also, chalo koi baat nahi. So based on that we are saying ki women should be like this or like that. Now you tell me, there is another term called gender stereotypes. What is the meaning of gender stereotype? Can anyone tell me? What is the meaning of gender stereotype?
They are thought to do a particular type of thing.
Rigid categories of attributes or qualities given to based on gender, and this is usually social or sociocultural. These are different ideas how people should behave, different genders should behave. For example, male, what is the different characteristics of male? Male is gender stereotype जो देखियो. For example, what should be the different values or attributes? Male should be how? They should be strong. How should be
Provider.
female? Yes, we will discuss. Strong जगह female should be, if not weak, they should be soft in that sense. Okay. Male should be provider, correct? Women should be what? Caretaker. Similarly, if you see professions, gender stereotype, it's not just about attributes. Gender stereotypes will pervade every aspect of a human being. Profession wise, we think that men should have professions like engineers, they should have professions like CEOs, they should have professions like what else, soldiers. All these are associated with men. Professions for women, what do you think should be the profession? Teacher, doctor, nurses. These are the professions we give them. So gender stereotype, are you able to understand the rigid categories? आमे कुछ rigid कहेंगे because mentally आमे भावुच कि in this sense कि women should be like this and men should be like this. So in that sense it is rigid, means we are not being flexible in our thinking. Okay, this is the meaning of gender stereotype. What else? Gender stereotype रा कौन example ही परियो? Can you give me some other examples?
Sir, to respect the elders.
अच्छा तो men कौन respect करते नहीं कि? Is that what you are saying?
No, I mean in Indian society, women are supposed to be more respectful, like
Okay, okay.
I can
So okay,
like
okay. So they are supposed to be more submissive.
They're more
Yes, no, they,
scrutinized. Their each and every behavior related scrutinized. कि केमती
ठीक है,
चलला केमती गला.
correct, correct. They are more put under scrutiny, whereas men are given more freedom. By the way, any of you do not agree with these points? You can say, yes, no, sir, I don't agree with this. Okay, agree करो ना? Yes. हाँ.
Sir, it is absolutely right. A man doing anything freely, so there is a woman cannot doing anything freely.
I didn't understand you. मैंने कौन क्वेश्चन?
A man doing anything freely, but there is a woman cannot doing anything freely.
अच्छा, okay, okay. ସେଇଟା କହୁଛନ୍ତି, that is the difference. Yes, that can be different. माने you are saying कि women cannot do anything, many of the things freely, है ना? जोड़ा men माने freely करी परिये. Think of even personal life choices. Think of seeing someone smoking. If you see a man smoking on the street, for you, even if you are against smoking in general, it will not be a moral outrage. Moral outrage किछे आसियो. But if you see a girl smoking, then you will be immediately moral outrage आसियो. आजिकल झील मैंने बहुत खराब यूज स्मोकिंग करिया को लागले. But if you are saying this for women, you should say the same for men also, na? In general, this will not provoke your outrage. This is also an example how they are put under more scrutiny. Okay, I will give you a few more concepts today. First concept is known as dual burden. ये सब concept गुड़ा women related society issue रे ये सब concept गुड़ा लिखियो. Concepts are very important. What is the dual burden of women? Family and work. What is the burden on men? Men मान को पर single burden, work. So that means many of the women carry both of these. Not housewives, but who are working women. Working women मान को dual burden. Okay. Similarly, there is another concept, shadow pandemic. The shadow pandemic agro. Today we are going to discuss one last point, that is domestic violence. हमें यहाँ पे पता है नहीं? Domestic violence कौन? What is domestic violence? Violence specifically against women within their own families. This is the worst part, within own families. So people will usually write just violence. No, not just violence, but within their own families. So what is the importance of this thing? This thing is key. When it is happening within their own families, then there is a taboo attached to it, and the women cannot seek redress. This is the issue. Cannot seek redress. कहीं से redress seek कर पारेनी in general हम कुछ because of the taboo कि घर को दिन सब घर ही रहिया को दियो. So this results in the silent oppression of women. This is known as domestic violence. And one subset of domestic violence is something known as intimate partner violence, or IPV. What is the meaning of intimate partner violence? Violence done by intimate partner, usually husbands or sometimes even boyfriends. By the way, sometimes other case also happens, but we don't have a specific term for that. Is this a case of gender bias or not? What do you think? Is there
Yes, sir.
is no term for operation by wives on husbands. But there is a specific term for okay chalo actually कौन की IPV also includes this thing also. Actually wife, if wife will attack the husband also, that will also come under IPV. But in general it is more by husband on wife. Okay, so it actually, if you see, this is a gender neutral term. Intimate partnership में use करा है. Now if you see, intimate partner violence is a subset of domestic violence because it is happening within the family or by someone very close to you. And if you see DV, for example, your father-in-law, your mother-in-law, they can also torture you. If they are torturing a woman, then that will also be called as domestic violence. But that will not be called as intimate partner violence because obviously they are not your intimate partners. Okay.
So they are demanding more dowry.
Dowry itself is a separate issue. Then dowry को नहीं कि suppose तापर torture करा हो, then that will come under IPV and DV. Yes, certainly. Dowry itself demand करेला, suppose you demand करो, but he is not physically attacking someone. Here it is physical attack भी होची ना, physical attack होची. Dowry खाली demand करेगी जनो गाली दिया वाला, that will not be called intimate partner violence. जितना से demand हो, usually कौन है demand रो violence आड़ू जाए और first threat of violence हो. Even threat of violence that will come under DV because now this is a cognizable offense. Although see, even dowry is a cognizable offense, na? But threat of violence now it will be called as DV. Then after threat of violence, if actual violence happens, then obviously that is taro alga dafa ache IPC CRPC. Correct. Now the last concept for today is something known as shadow pandemic. What is this concept? आमे ये सब पॉइंट उड़ा तो सोसाइटी पार्ट रे लिखियो एंड दिस विल बी मार्क फिचिंग. आई विल टेल यू अनदर पॉइंट. सोसाइटी रे इनफॉरमेशन टू बेसी इंपोर्टेंट होची concept. Concept will actually drive your answer. In other GS parts, specifically economics रे, information is the main driver, but in society concepts are more driver of your answer. So shadow pandemic, what is the meaning of shadow pandemic? एबे recently जो COVID-19 pandemic हेतला, तापाई बहुत सारा कौन हला, shutdown हला, lockdown हला, है ना? So यारो one of the results of this was that for a prolonged period of time, people were stuck within the confines of their home. Home रे almost locked ହେଇକି ରହିଲା ଭଳିଆ ରହିଲେ. तो ତା ଦ୍ୱାରା କଣ ହେଲା, ଆଗରୁ ଯେତେବେଳେ ଦୂରରେ ରହୁଥିଲେ, maybe husband is staying at one place, wife is staying at one place. Husband, how can husband oppress now? Wife କୁ oppress କରିବାର ଗୋଟେ phone କରି ଗାଳି ଦବ. But now they are stuck in one home. So now the level of domestic violence or intimate partner violence went up. But this was unnoticed. This was an invisible violence. That is why it is called as shadow pandemic. The pandemic तो तारा COVID-19 तारा रास्ते पे चलतिला. आउ गोटे ता संगे parallelly start ହେଇगला shadow pandemic in the sense ki the level of domestic violence increased a lot. Okay, are you able to understand or not? This concept was given by UN women recently कहला. ସେମାନେ कहले कि level of violence went up by two times or 2.5 times. I think 2 times. कहले माने double ହେଇଗला almost. आगरो जतिकी level of होतला violence होतला against women, after the shadow pandemic it increased twice. UN women concept. So you can write this, how evolving events have also adversely impacted women in India. Okay. If you have any doubt, please ask. Otherwise, we are going to wind up the class today.
shadow pandemic ଟା ଟିକେ
How tere? Okay.
Sir,
Pandemic का
hello sir.
हाँ हाँ
Hello sir.
हाँ हाँ.
Sir, ଆଉ ଗୋଟେ reason ହେଇପାରିବ ନା ଏ shadow pandemic ରେ ଓ less income to in spite to violence of domestic less income
less income ହେଇପାରିବ,
at,
but ମୁଁ actually ଏଟା ଗୋଟେ
at the
technical
time of
term ଯେହେତୁ
COVID-19.
No, I understood your point. ତାଙ୍କ ପାଖରେ income, ସେମାନେ they lost their jobs. Many of the, if you see, even migrant workers, job ତାଙ୍କ ପାଖରେ ମାନେ economic difficulty ଅଛି. Then that would also lead to fight, domestic fight ହେଲା. But କଥା ହଉଛି
And
shadow pandemic ଟା.
they cannot manage his family. So this is the main reason to domestic violence.
हाँ देखो, ଆମେ କୋଉ ବି reason ରୁ ହଉଛି ଆମେ ସେଟା ମାନେ that is not important. What is important here कि pandemic time ରେ ଏଇଟା ଗୋଟେ parallelly जो pandemic ଟା ଚାଲିଲା ସେଟାକୁ କେହି notice କଲେନି. That is the main important part. कौन reason पे UN women, I don't think it has specifically said about this economic part. It might have said, just check it. बट मु जति मोर जति मन पड़ुछि आई थिंक किछि रीजन बहुत सारा रीजन सेमती दिया गला इन जनरल गोटे लेवल ऑफ एटा जो इंक्रीज हिची सेटा कहा गला स्पेसिफिकली दे टॉक्ड अबाउट एक्चुअली मेंटल हेल्थ इश्यूज okay but if you are saying this I'll check this point again whether UN Women said this part or not. Ministry of Women and Child in India had actually given more data on this, so maybe you might have seen some newspaper article on this. माने किछि पढिथिलो कि एंति लिखा हितला बोली or in general you are saying this माने from your own observations of the society.
Hello, sir.
What is the source?
Many
Yes,
people were suicide at the time of COVID-19. So that is
Okay.
the violence of domestic.
it might be based on your observation also. Economic difficulty हेले तो जहाँ भी especially in lower socioeconomic classes where they don't have anything to fall back upon तांके पर backup सेमते किछि नाही आमे तो चलो किछि दिन पय reserve buffer stock हम पाखरे अछि किछि दिन पय चली जु सान पाखरे किछि नथिला so that is certainly that could be one of the reasons but I have not read this anywhere so I don't know ମୁଁ check करी कहबी any other any other thing you want to ask from today's class.
सर animism sir
अच्छा animism बुझ कर लनी की
आएगा
animism is the idea to attribute living qualities to non-living things. Who gave this definition? Maybe guess कर दवा कथा. I gave you right now. Okay, more understanding. So that means even if you see in ancient Hindu tradition, which itself came from paganism. Max Weber gave this idea. मैंने मुझे definition. Max Muller, okay, might have given this, okay. But कथा होची animism, the practice of animism actually precedes Max Muller. Max Muller का जेजाबापा भी जन्म होई नथले जेतला animism start हेतला. Max Muller might have termed this. I don't know. I'll check it. Okay.
So
I
Tyler
was telling. हाँ मते भी doubt होची. I don't think Max Muller did animism.
Tyler.
So anyway, our purpose is not to write who gave what or not. But the purpose is to understand. Animism ର ମାନେ କଣ ଦେଖ? Attributing living qualities to non-living things. You think you ଗୋଟେ ପାହାଡଟା देखियो तुमे usually tribal ଲୋକଙ୍କ ଭିତରେ ଏଇ feelings ବେଶୀ ଅଛି ସେମାନେ ପାହାଡକୁ ଦେବତା ବୋଲି କହିବେ have you seen this or not ମାଲ୍ୟଗିରି ଯୋଉ ପାହାଡଟା that is considered as a living being so ଏଇ ଯୋଉ attribution ଆମେ କରିବା non-living things ମାନେ ବଞ୍ଚିଛନ୍ତି ବୋଲି ତାଙ୍କ ଭିତରେ life ଅଛି ବୋଲି this ideology is known as animism and this is part of paganism pagan ଆମେ discuss କରିଥିଲେ ନା unorganized religion one of the earliest religion one of the earliest religion of the world nature and natural forces को worship करिया तार गोटे aspect होची animism and with time animism also became part of Hinduism so in Hinduism also we consider कि suppose पत्थर रो life अछि पानी रो life अछि in some aspects of Hinduism it is believed so who is and this part is known as animism okay animism here comes from the fact from animated माने जे move करि परछि movement अछि so movement अछि माने life अछि so ए term रो आछि animism any other doubts
सर आपनक पर्सनल लाइफ विषय कोन कहिते आरंभ कहउतले रहि गेले
सेटा लास्ट है सेटा पूरा what will happen is that कि towards the end of your course एबे जो हाई अछि धीरे धीरे टी कमिवो so towards the end of the course and specifically at the माने लास्ट कोन हबो कि mid jan ru I will माने मोर क्लास अराउंड सरी ठीक अछि actually I anticipated this today's result I had anticipated so I thought कि I would be busy from jan onwards so that is why you are seeing continuous classes by me na other faculties will come from mid jan onwards Subham sir Manas sir eman सब आसी so by then my courses my part will be over and but your exam will be when feb first week bhabiniyo okay let's say feb 8th feb around ki say time around so towards the end of our session in February I'll take up the last session I'll take up and if possible we'll also have Sajal sir from next IS as your मतलब I want कि तुम टिके mental conditioning पूरा से last पूरा ठीक हो you should go in a very upbeat way पूरा peak रे जीवो exam the point is आमे एबे सब develop कौन करछे ask रो आमे skill attitude भी देखले एबे knowledge develop करछे last रो पुनी last day will be only on attitude लास्ट दिन किसी सेमती नॉलेज की स्किल रिलेटेड नो ओनली एटीट्यूड सो दैट पार्ट विल टेक अप अगेन तो सेबे मु कहबी किसी मोर पर्सनल कहबी एबे कहयार किसी दरकार नहीं राइट नाउ आई थिंक यू आर सफिशिएंटली मोटिवेटेड राइट नाउ एबे और कोन एक्स्ट्रा मोटिवेशन बहुत अधिया नहीं कोन करियो एते एक्स्ट्रा मोटिवेशन न कोन आचार बनेयो कि ठीक है जति मोटिवेशन है ठीक है यू आर ऑल राइटिंग आंसर हाँ बाय द वे नॉट ऑल ऑफ यू आर एक्चुअली राइटिंग आंसर शुड राइट सम पीपल आर नॉट राइटिंग आंसर्स प्लीज राइट ओके but those people who are writing now I'm already seeing the level of improvement already there is a lot of improvement ठीक है so you should definitely and many people are learning from the classes they are learning from each other please start writing if you are not writing regularly please start writing evaluation am starting the slow chalichi because of some own issues also ठीक है you will pick up the pace again okay any other doubts
सर ये जो रनिंग नोट जहाँ भी आम नौचु माने सेटा हमर फाइनल नोट हम तो माने आप किसी करिया दरकार
yes 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 again एते सारा नोट नहीं कौन करियो you even compare maybe you download मु तो कुछ फ्री रे नोट डाउनलोड करी तमे देखो थारे कंपेयर करी क्वालिटी देखो विजन आय सर डाउनलोड करी देखो थारे सोसाइटी will you able to finish society 150 200 पेज रो सोसाइटी नोट पढ़ी के एबे एग्जाम देबो जीवो do you have that time don't have the time the main reason of joining this crash course was that I'm a short time रे एमती कवर कर पेरिया otherwise who is stopping you from gaining material तो बहुत अच्छी मार्केट रे तो भर्ती पड़छि I'm saying कि जहाँ भी रनिंग नोट नोच ना just read it revise it go to exam this knowledge plus skill whatever you have developed plus last रे पुणी आउथे attitude रो dose आसियो this is going to carry you forward don't run only after knowledge okay
सर वन लास्ट क्वेश्चन लाइक आपण खाली GS3 और GS4 नेबे राइट
yes GS2 GS1 will be taken up by other faculties
ओके
ସେଥିପାଇଁ ଆମେ କଣ୍ଟିନ୍ୟୁଅସ୍ ମୋର ହିଁ କ୍ଲାସ୍ ଚାଲିଛି ବାଇ ଦ ୱେ ଯଦି କିଛି ବୋରିଂ ଲାଗିବ ତାହେଲେ ମୋତେ ଜଣେଇବ ଓକେ ନାଇଁ ସାର୍ ଆପଣଙ୍କ କ୍ଲାସ୍ ଭଲ ଲାଗୁନି ଆଉ
नो सर वी वांट कि मतलब आपण सब क्लास
ମୁଁ ସବୁ କ୍ଲାସ୍ ନେଇପାରିବିନି ମୁଁ ସବୁ କ୍ଲାସ୍ ଓକେ and there are very good faculties other faculties are really excellent faculties also they will take those classes you will enjoy their class also okay specifically Manas sir and Shubham sir you will certainly enjoy their classes ठीक है okay then guys we'll wrap it up today I have my some own work we will meet again tomorrow is Saturday I think na
yes
यस
sir
सर
Saturday काली जेहेतु अच्छी तेणु Saturday भी गोटे एक्स्ट्रा क्लास हो प्लस Sunday भी आमे गोटे एक्स्ट्रा क्लास करिया ओके
Sir, can we in Sunday can you give the class in afternoon time?
हाँ आमे यूजुअली आफ्टरनून नहीं रखुछु ना संडे
I'm saying that not in the evening, in 3 to 4 or 3 to 5.
अच्छा आमे गोटे पोल करदबा ठीक अछि पोल करदबा
Yes, sir.
देखिया मैक्सिमम पीपल केतेबेले फ्री रहउछन अकॉर्डिंग टू मेजॉरिटी वोट विल डिसाइड ठीक है
Okay, sir.
ओके ठीक है गाइस देन दैट्स इट फॉर टुडे ओके विल मीट अगेन टुमारो क्लास डिसमिस